Live from the Emerald City in Seattle, Washington, the UFO, Bigfoot, and paranormal hotspot of the Pacific Northwest, coming directly to you listening in around the world. This, my friends, is Spaced Out Sunday. I am your host, Michael W. Hall, the paranormal lawyer, occupying the captain's chair tonight for SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show, including all of our listeners on the digital side at Revolution Radio. And don't forget, you can always find our archive shows for free at youtube.com Spaced Out Radio. Just do us all a favor and hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to some Bumblefoot, shopping at our Spaced Out Radio store, and catching up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire, and so much more. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by donating to Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. And we are going to have Joey and Tonya Madia back on our show again tonight with our good buddy Peter Davenport doing some reports of UFO sighting reports up front in the first half hour. But the Paranormal Investigators, authors, and lecturers par excellence, Joey and Tonya Madia, are back on Spaced Out Sunday. So sit back, relax, and enjoy yourselves, and get something ready for you to have a nice hot toddy or cold drink, whatever your preference would be for tonight, and sit back and relax. We are going to have a great show tonight. So first of all, let me just make sure we've got some good audio levels for everyone here, and let me see if we've got Tanya and Joey on the line. Are you guys there?
Yes, we are. Good evening.
All right. Thank you very much for being back on Spaced Out Sunday. We're going to have a lot of fun tonight with you guys out there in the far east, actually, in Ohio at this point anyway. So it's a little later out there for you guys. And Peter Davenport is in eastern Washington, out on the Pacific coast out here. So Peter, are you there?
I'm here. Hear you loud and clear, Michael.
Okay, good. Yeah, just keep close to that microphone and we'll be able to hear you just fine. All righty. Well, gosh, it's been at least a week since we've been with Peter. And longer than that for both Joey and Tanya. First of all, let's welcome everyone back to Spaced Out Sunday, and thank you for all being here with me.
Yes, we're looking forward to it. Thank you.
Yes, thank you for having us.
Thanks for the invitation, as always, Michael.
Yeah. Gosh, it's been a beautiful week, actually. I don't know if there's been any major weather issues across the country. The Pacific Northwest, I know, has been in the upper 70s and 80s. I know in eastern Washington it's going to be hotter than that out there for you, Peter, huh?
Yeah, it is. It's been in the 80s and 90s.
Oh, my. And we're coming into the last blast of September, I think, before things starting to cool down out there. So I understand the weather's going to be even warmer this week.
That's my understanding, too. I'm not looking forward to it. I've got a lot of outdoor work to do.
Oh, my.
Wait till evening hours to tackle it.
Yes, and of course, in between those incoming calls for the National UFO Reporting Center, which, by the way, Joey and Tanya, we need to congratulate Peter. I don't know if you noticed, but literally the National UFO Reporting Center was front page center on the Wall Street Journal article that just came out last week. Congratulations, Peter.
Oh, congratulations.
Awesome, Peter.
Thank you. Yeah, it was quite surprising. I had interviewed with them, but until Monday of last week, I didn't quite understand the full dimension of the type of article they were going to do. And we made the column 1, page 1 of the Wall Street Journal. The column 1, of course, is significant. That's where they talk about all the weirdos.
Well, I'll tell you what, when I read that article, Peter, I was quite amazed how well balanced and well written this article was by this young female reporter.
Yeah, I just got the text of it for the first time tonight. I haven't had a chance to read the entire article, so I probably should not comment, but she was very professional and very thorough, and we had several conversations after the interview in which she wanted to tighten up facts and make sure that everything was correct, so I'm sure she did an excellent job of it.
Well, for folks that have not been privy to the article yet, or they don't know the substance of your interview with her, you might want to just regale us a little bit about what she might have been interested in talking to you.
Well, she was trying to do a human interest story more than a straight reporting story, I think. She wanted to know facts about what it's like to run a UFO hotline. And we got into the prank call issue that you and I have covered on this program in weeks and months in the past, Michael.
Right.
And she was intrigued by that. And she was interested in my work in the Soviet Union and work as a translator and just a whole bunch of things. She and I talked for the first time for a couple hours, actually.
Wow.
And so she was looking for as much material as she could get.
Well,
it was very successful.
Isn't it interesting that the Wall Street Journal is actually interested in even, these kinds of stories, whether they were, scientific in orientation or personal stories or whatever. It's fantastic that kind of publication would be even calling you, I think.
Yeah, I was quite surprised. Interestingly, the first email she had sent me arrived when I was extremely busy trying to get email and prepare for radio programs, and it becomes like a madhouse when all of that happens all at once. And I had overlooked her email or overlooked responding to it. She contacted me a week later and said, I'm so-and-so, and I sent you a letter, an email some days ago. So I responded to the second one, but I almost, if she had not pinged me a second time, that email might have gotten buried.
Yeah. Well, that's everybody's problem nowadays, is that the emails are becoming superfluous, whatever you want to say, and basically it's hard to catch them all. So I'm glad that people are following up on certain emails, and I ask people in my little footer at the bottom of my emails myself that if you want to get a hold of me, text me and let me know that you're sending me an email. That would be very helpful. But I understand that the real gist of the article that came out said that basically National UFO Reporting Center is up about 50% as far as sighting reports go. Is that correct?
Well, from a prior year, it's 50% more. But I've never met a journalist, never talked with a journalist who wasn't interested in emphasizing the volume of reports, whether it was increasing or decreasing. It seems to be hardwired into every journalist I've ever talked to. They want to know if there are more UFOs or fewer UFOs. And the problem is that there's not a very tight correlation between the number of UFO reports and the number of UFOs that appear to be flying in our airspace. And what I mean by that is the volume of reports can be vastly influenced by all sorts of criteria, all sorts of events and so on.
Yeah.
For example, part of the reason that we received so many reports in April is because of the Starlink satellites. They fly overhead in a straight line shortly after their launch out of Cape Canaveral. They fly overhead in a straight line, and people see them for the first time if they haven't been apprised of their existence and what they are, just mere satellites, albeit a lot of them. We received many impassioned emails from those people, many impassioned reports, but it creates an artifactual number of reports of UFOs when in fact those reports are nothing more than just prosaic satellites flying nose to tail across the sky.
Yeah, that would definitely. I remember that was definitely a major bump in your reporting center statistics when Elon Musk did his initial, launches there in April. That was interesting. Just happened to correspond basically with the COVID-19 lockdown and everything. So there was a lot of things going on at that time.
I'd love to talk to Elon Musk and have him advertise these launches a little bit better than he does, because I've talked to airline crews, and I just updated the website this past Friday afternoon, the 4th of September, and there's even a new report from an airline crew that I believe saw nothing more exciting than the Starlink satellites pass overhead. So even seasoned pilots are easily deceived by this cluster of satellites.
Wow. And speaking of seasoned pilots, Peter, I don't know if you heard of this report last week or not, and Joey and Tanya might have heard this as well. Over LAX on Sunday, a week ago, all of a sudden these two pilots are reporting approaching LAX on a landing pattern and passing a guy in a jetpack at 3,000 feet. Did you hear that?
Yeah, I did.
Oh, my!
Wow.
I mean, we've seen certain reports and stories of guys in jetpacks maybe hovering over the ocean or water and those kinds. But this is two airline pilots at 3,000 feet, which is quite high for a jetpack, you would think, saying that they passed a guy going into LAX himself in a jetpack. Oh, my.
I was quite surprised because, as you correctly say, Michael, it's very difficult to get to 3,000 feet with a jetpack. In fact, not very difficult. I suspect it's impossible with most jetpacks that we're accustomed to. And people have proposed that he must have jumped from an airplane. And been launched at close to the ultimate or final altitude. But that's very mysterious. I'm a commercial pilot and former flight instructor, and I get very annoyed when people act as irresponsibly as this guy acted. Because if somebody had flown out of a cloud and flown into him, it could have been a disaster.
Oh, and I understand from these pilots' sighting, they said that he was less than 3,000 feet from them. At 3,000, or was it 300 feet? Oh my gosh, I can't remember. I think it was 300, like about a football field in distance away from them at 3,000 feet in altitude. So that's totally crazy. I don't know what you would be doing landing in LA. If you were going to do a jetpack and come down from some other craft, which I've seen happen, you'd probably want to pick a spot where you're not going to have to worry about that. But who knows?
300 feet is very close to a commercial airliner under those circumstances. It can shake a pilot up to see an anomalous object. In fact, it brings to mind a UFO report I received back on the 22nd of June, year 2000. I believe it was a Thursday night. A pilot was flying to the west of Boston. He was going from Nantucket Island up to New Hampshire with passengers in a single-engine turboprop, a Pilatus PC-12 is what it was. And he looked out ahead of his aircraft. This is about 9:20 or 9:25 at night, as I recall, on the longest day of the year. And he saw an object streaking towards his airplane. Well, he have time to alert his co-pilot, but he saw it as it went just underneath his right wing, his starboard wing. He said it was about the size of the hood of an American sedan, and it was charcoal black. It had no engines, it had no wings, it had no empennage, it had no logos on the side of it. Just imagine a charcoal black egg-shaped object streaking by your airplane. And I cite that case. I think it's still available on our website, again for June 22nd, year 2000. I remember how upset the pilot was. He said he was trembling after that because it passed within 50 vertical feet. That's 50 vertical feet of his starboard wing.
Oh, my.
That's pretty close.
I mean, in those situations as a pilot, Peter, I would imagine that it happens so quickly, you don't have a chance to react so much, but afterwards you're thinking, oh my gosh, in a split second I could have been killed at that point.
And he immediately called TRACON, the radar facility, and asked them if they had anything in his vicinity. And I got the audio for this case, and they said no, they didn't. A few seconds later, you can hear them call the pilot again and said, yep, we have it now, and it just reversed its direction almost instantaneously, and it's now trailing your aircraft.
Oh, that's going to send a chill up your spine, especially in a small aircraft like that, not a major airliner. Holy mackerel. Yeah. You're on a roll now, Peter. Let's not stop you. I'm sure you've got plenty of reports that we haven't even got to yet, so go ahead.
We're into UFOs. Well, the first case I'd like to share comes from the 2nd of September, last week. A gentleman from Fort Worth, Texas, reported that at 4:30 p.m. on that last Wednesday afternoon, he witnessed two black spherical objects that appeared to him to be hovering motionless in the daytime sky, again 4:30 in the afternoon. And as he looked closer, he realized that there were several other similar objects in the same area of the sky, although they were less distinct and smaller, perhaps farther away from him than the first two were. He has no idea what they were. He witnessed them for an hour. The case is very similar to reports of what we suspect are high-altitude helium-filled balloons. But you wouldn't expect five balloons to be in one part of the sky. So what he saw, I have no idea. He was mystified by it.
Wow, and obviously it sounds to me that if they were for an hour, they were probably not drifting away in the prevailing winds. That's interesting.
Yeah, exactly. His impression, Michael, was that they were hovering motionless in the daytime sky. That's very unusual.
Yeah.
So,
okay. That's where was that again? Oh, Nantucket.
Fort Worth, Texas.
Oh, I'm sorry, Fort Worth, Texas. Okay, all right.
And the second report I'd like to share with our audience tonight is a real doozy. This is also from the 2nd of September, Wednesday of last week. A gentleman submitted a report, and this is similar to Betty and Barney Hill or Travis Walton territory.
Oh my!
A young man from Wisconsin, Indian Ford, Wisconsin, on the Rock River, somewhere in Wisconsin. He and his fiancée were returning from a Wednesday night fishing trip I presume on the Rock River, near the towns of Indian Ford, Edgerton, and I've forgotten the third town, but in any event, near Indian Ford, Wisconsin. And they were driving home. They were driving south on the State Route 51 when their attention was drawn to a cluster of red and white lights ahead of their car, about 30 degrees up, they at first thought that they were looking at marker lights on a radio tower, but very quickly they realized that they were gaining on it much faster than would have been the case if it had been a tower. And the young man described the 7 lights he saw: 4 white lights in the middle, 2 oriented vertically, 2 oriented horizontally, and those 4 white lights were surrounded by 3 much larger red lights. And they drove under it, and he reports that as they drove underneath it, they both heard a piercing, high-pitched tone. And they were so intrigued by what they just experienced that they turned around just in time to see the thing suddenly accelerate and streak from south to north, leaving just a streak of light across the sky. Very, very intriguing report. And he reports that at about the time he started slowing down, he realized that there were 3 other cars behind him, so he couldn't stop on the highway. He had to slow down and move over to the right. But the question I ask is, what are the occupants of those other 3 cars thinking? What did they experience, and why haven't they submitted reports as well? But this is a very intriguing report, very well written, and it's unsettling, to say the least.
It is. I mean, you're saying that they literally drove underneath some kind of an object and heard this high-pitched sound at that point.
High-pitched sound.
Yeah. And then, boy, that's a strange idea that the guy says that he slowed down or turned off to the side of the road and then actually turned around and was going backwards.
Yeah, turned around. He's a little bit vague, and this is not unusual for written reports. He's a little bit vague as to exactly what they did, but my impression as I reread his report is they went under it the first time and decided to go back to find out what it was a second time to get a better look at it.
Yeah.
And they perhaps drove under it a second time, and that's when they realized they pulled off the road and looked back to see if they could see it again, and they realized it was moving away from them quite rapidly. Then it accelerated suddenly, and he says it just left a streak of white light across the sky.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, those are the kinds of reports, Peter, that if you ever get an interest in those witnesses coming on a radio show like ours, just to talk about it, we could talk about, just at least ask them questions for follow-up on something like that. It would be really riveting, I would imagine.
Oh, that would be fun. I used to do that on other programs, and I'm surprised that people have stopped that tradition, because it's very gripping to hear, as you correctly say, Michael, it's very gripping to hear the actual eyewitnesses describe in their own words what they experienced, particularly if it's been a really dramatic sighting.
Yeah. And obviously this seems to be very close in proximity to their car and other people as well. So, oh my. Yeah. So if that opportunity ever shows itself, feel free to bring anyone on with you at any time on any of these Sunday nights. That would be a lot of fun.
Oh, that's a great plan. I'd love to do that.
Yeah.
I always love to bring a guest on and turn it over to him or her or them and let them tell their own story.
Yeah. Fascinating. Oh, wow. Well, thank you for that. That was an interesting sighting report right there. And that is, of course, in Wisconsin, you said. Yeah. Wow.
Indian Fort, Wisconsin.
Okay. Got it. All right. Well, I think we got time for one more if you've got one.
I'd like to introduce people to this event that occurred, I think, Thursday night, the 3rd of September, over Texas. It was a green oval object was reported from 3 cities near Dallas-Fort Worth: Allen, Texas, Cranberry, Texas, and Roanoke. Make that Granbury, Texas, and Roanoke, all positioned around Fort Worth and Dallas. People saw an oval Kelly green light that was maneuvering all over the sky, entering banks of clouds, coming out of the clouds, streaking off. 3 of those reports, and I received many more than that, are posted to the website now. Again, for I believe the 3rd of September at about 11:45 p.m. on Thursday night. What the object was, I have no idea, but I'm continuing to receive reports from people in Texas about this event.
Oh my, so it must have been quite dramatic. You said Kelly green, very bright green object, in and out of the atmosphere at about 1:15 midnight local time. I can't imagine something like that, at that late at night. That must have been quite dramatic to catch so many people's attention.
It was, and people reported 2 things. One, when it moved fast, it moved really fast, and it was maneuvering, so it didn't travel in a straight line. So it could not have been a meteor, in my opinion.
Yeah. No, definitely. Okay. Well, again, we're finding more and more of these objects, not just, lights in the sky nowadays, but catching people's attention up close and personal and being quite dramatic. So I don't know what the heck is going on here, but listen, we need to prepare for the bottom of the hour break. But before we do that, let's make sure everyone knows about the UFO Reporting Center hotline phone number, your address, for any kind of monetary support they want to send to your way, because that would be very helpful, I'm assuming, during this period of time.
The hotline telephone number, if people have seen a UFO within the last several days, is area code 206-722-3000. That number again is 206-722-3000. And we ask them to follow up with a detailed written statement about their sighting, which they can submit via our website, which is ufocenter.com, where we have a blank online report form like a job application. And if they'd like to support us with a modest contribution, they can mail a check to the National UFO Reporting Center, P.O. Box 700, Davenport, Washington, 99122. That number or address again is P.O. Box 700, Davenport, Washington, 99122. And thank you for allowing me to do that, Michael.
Oh, my pleasure, Peter, and thank you on behalf of Tanya and Joey and all the listeners tonight. This was quite an interesting update report here from the National UFO Reporting Center. So we will talk to you next week, if not sooner.
That sounds fine, and thanks for the airtime, as always, Michael.
Oh, you're welcome. All right, folks, hang on there. We'll be right back in about 6 minutes once we take our break at the bottom of the hour here. So hang on.
Hey, Spaced Out Radio fans, it's John Resnick, founder of the Chive and Chive Charities. Our goal is to make the life of veterans, first responders, and those with rare medical conditions 10% happier. We do this by donating one grant item, ranging from dance to therapy programs to prosthetic limbs, to those who need it most. To contribute to Spaced Out Radio's official charity, head over to chivecharities.org and become a donor today.
I'm feeling a little spicy tonight. What to do?
Why not get Bumblefuck?
4 million Scoville units of pure hard rock. Bumblefoot hot sauces come in 3 flavors. The burning tone it down a bit with Bumblicious and throw the sauce on everything.
Spice it up. Bumble me, baby. Bumblefoot hot sauce. Get it today at Kajans.com.
At spacedoutradio.com, we are keeping you up to date on all the news with the SOR Newswire. Captain Shirk leads the team that is bringing you the news of the day and exclusive stories on everything paranormal and supernatural. It's free to read, it's updated daily, and it's right there for you. The SOR Newswire is a one-stop shop for the news of the day. Check it out at spacedoutradio.com today.
Are you looking for great advertising value for your company? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. We have a multitude of places to get your name out there, including commercial ads during the show, special promotions, and banners on our website. Our audience is proven to support the companies that support our show. We can make your budget work for you. So for more information, please contact us at sales@spacedoutradio.com.
Hey everybody, the SOR Space Travelers is open. For just $5 a month, you can hang out with Dave and our crew privately in our members-only section. With your signing, you'll receive newsletters on what's going on with Spaced Out Radio. You'll have direct contact with the host during the show in our chat, live streaming videos, and a great forum for your posts and more. Become a space traveler now at spacedoutradio.com.
Are you addicted to the woo? Good. Me too. This is Dave Scott, and you can woo it up with me every Monday through Friday, starting at 9:06 Pacific, 12:06 a.m. Eastern, for 3 hours of great entertainment in the subjects you love. UFOs, ghosts, cryptids, intuition. Yes, we hit it all 5 days a week. Look for us at spacedoutradio.com, where together, my friends, we own the night.
You wanted new SOR gear, and now you can have it. The SOR Vault is fully stocked with t-shirts, hats, hoodies, mugs, and everything in between, with great logos for you to choose from. So head on over to spacedoutradio.com, click on the SOR Vault, and go shopping. Pricing is quite affordable, and you can look good representing your favorite show. So go to our website and pick up your new SOR wear at the SOR Vault today.
Need that weekend's supernatural fix? Look no further than Spaced Out Saturday right here at spacedoutradio.com. I'm Stacey Edwards.
And I'm John Edwards. Each Saturday night, Stacey and I are going to bring you the best in paranormal, cryptids, UFOs, you name it, and we're going there.
It's all about the experience and to share the knowledge with all of you.
So tune us in every Saturday night on Spaced Out Saturdays, starting at 9:06 p.m. Pacific, 12:06 a.m. Eastern, only at spacedoutradio.com.
From the heartlands of Canada to beards around the world, we know how to take care of you. Fill your follicles with the Mighty Moose Beard Oil. All our oils and balms are handmade and 100% natural ingredients because we care about your beard. And hey, use the promo code SOR2019 and get your Mighty Moose Beard Oil today. You can check us out on our website, mightymoosebeard.com.
We're adding to the entertainment online for Spaced Out Radio. I'm Amber Beckrud, and I want to invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel and check out Cryptid Tales, where I will take you on a journey into some of the strangest legends and lore from around the world, relaying the stories to you of the strange creatures and experiences that people have had throughout time. You can find Cryptid Tales at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio, and while you're there, don't forget to check out our free archives and leave a comment. See you there.
Cold drinks, great food, and the best music in Vancouver. The Moose Vancouver is the place to be, open until 2 a.m. nightly. Everything on the menu starts at just $6.95. Who serves food that cheap anymore? At the Moose, you'll never know who you'll run into. Rock stars, actors, athletes. It's the place everyone wants to be. So join us at the Moose Vancouver, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
Hello everyone, this is Ryan Stacy from the Experiencer Support Association, otherwise known as TESSA. We're glad to team up with Spaced Out Radio to help investigate your experiences on the SOR Sightlines Report. Together, we'll investigate the strange sightings and occurrences you've had. We're looking for answers just like you. So fill out a Sightlines report on the Spaced Out Radio website, and let's figure out what's going on together.
All right, Tonya Madia is an author, Reiki master, medium, yoga teacher, and a massage therapist who believes in the importance of cultivating and trusting your own intuition. She has been seen firsthand how practices such as yoga, meditation, and Reiki lead to a deeper awareness and understanding of the natural intuitive abilities that we all possess. And she now teaches others how to develop these life-enhancing skills. Joey Madia, when he's not investigating or writing about strange phenomena, is a screenwriter, audio dramatist, playwright, novelist, actor, and director. He specializes in bringing true stories to the stage, page, and screen. His screenplay, The Man at the Foot of the Bed, is a paranormal thriller based on a true story and has been a 2-time official selection, a Beverly Hills Film Festival invitee, and a 2-time quarterfinalist. He applies the skills of a story analyst in training in a variety of spiritual systems to his paranormal investigations. And I am honored to have again on a Spaced Out Sunday both Joey and Tonya Madia. Welcome, folks.
Thank you. So glad to be back.
All righty. Well, it was interesting for both of us, all of us, to sit there and get through some of those sighting reports from Peter Davenport. It's always interesting to me to realize that every week as we go through our lives and all the things that we're dealing with, there are literally people in different parts of the country and the world that are reporting phenomena that are quite astonishing.
Absolutely.
And of course, that's what you guys specialize in, talking to certain people that have those kinds of reports and problems or issues as well. So I'm going to be real interested in finding out what has been new for you folks since we've talked last.
Right, so the past 3 months, so the first thing I guess we want to say is we are finalizing our new book, and it is called Roommates from Beyond, How to Live in a Haunted Home. So it's a practical handbook, it's a case book, and we are experiencing a very big uptick in reports of people with paranormal phenomena in their homes.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my, what an interesting title. I love that. Roommates from Beyond, huh?
Yeah, and how to live in a haunted home, not a haunted house. As a matter of fact, the idea of a haunted house is so ingrained that our longtime graphic designer, when we were talking to him about the cover and he sent us the first draft, he put haunted house. And then we were doing a radio show a couple weeks ago, and the host said, oh, and your new book is How to Live in a Haunted House. No, in a haunted home. So Tanya and I are going out on the limb and saying, if you have the desire for it, if you're built for it, you can coexist in kind of a healthy way with the spirits and ghosts that pass through or come to your home or come with a new piece of furniture, and if you can, then we give you strategies on healthy, respectful ways to then end the haunting.
Well, now isn't that a different approach, huh? Basically,
we hope so.
Coexisting and or dealing with in probably a more healthier way. Because obviously, you know, we're pretty provincial when we think that we are the only things in our, our experience. And we don't really realize, I would imagine, that many of us are dealing with different dimensions, different entities, and different realities all around us every day as we go through our own lives, it sounds like.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, we got to hear more about this. This is going to be very an interesting show, and of course, we've got lots of other things to talk about. But tell us about how you got the idea to actually come together with a book about this subject.
So Joey and I, almost since we've met, so we've been together 23 years now, and I'm pretty much a lifelong experiencer, but it was sort of new for Joey when I think our second home together, we started experiencing haunting activity, and almost every home that we've lived in since then. So that kind of got us interested in the paranormal to begin with, and as Joey mentioned, just getting a lot of reports on what seems like a big uptick in activity. So we really thought that it would be a great idea to not only share our experiences and, as Joey mentioned, talk about we're oftentimes happily cohabitating with the spirits. We have in several of the locations that we've lived in, sometimes not so happily, and we have had to take measures to either move when we couldn't, in certain instances, couldn't get the haunting to diminish. But like in our current home, for example, here in Ohio, the man who built the home, so it's a Sears catalog home. It was built in 1929, and it only had 2 previous owners. And the man who built the home still lives here. I guess live is an operative word, but he still resides here. And he didn't really initially like our use of the space in certain rooms, particularly some of Joey's items that he had, and technology in the space, and things would get moved around, things would get knocked over. One time Joey was walking past the refrigerator in the kitchen, and he heard, the man's name is Frank, and he heard Frank call him something that I won't say on the air, but he quite distinctly heard this name being called. And so it was clear to us that Frank was not really liking, our being in the space. So what I started to do is just kind of talk to him intuitively, because I am a medium. I got the sense that he wanted to be sort of acknowledged and included, and I started leaving coffee out for him. So when I would make the morning coffee, I would leave a cup out for Frank, and we would just talk to him, and over time everything settled down, and I think we were able to make peace with it. Things like lights flickering and footsteps, all that kind of stuff really died down, and after a while I think Frank finally moved on. So that's kind of what gave us the idea. Is like we've lived in all of these haunted homes, and each time there's had to be like a different approach to how we interact with the spirits, and we just thought that we could put together a really helpful handbook, again based on our personal experiences and the way that we've tackled cases that we've worked on.
Wow. You would think, I think actually, that this is quite a timely subject. I mean, the idea that most people now, or a lot more people, are spending more time in their homes during this world lockdown of, that we're under at this point, the pandemic kind of issues that we're having to deal with. And all of a sudden people are maybe having more time on their hands to determine that things are very unique at home compared to maybe their previous busy lifestyle, where they were like not really interested or having the ability to understand what's going on. So I would think that you're getting quite a lot of interest in this subject at this point.
That is definitely true. It's very astute, Michael. And it's within the homes, but we're in times of unprecedented, at least in our lifetime. Me being just shy of 52 years old, unprecedented turmoil, anger, and frustration, and all these different terms, and it's everywhere on all levels. And so we're even seeing cases, we experienced it here in our own home. We're doing everything by video now. And Tanya was seeing clients for a variety of reasons, and they started to notice behind her, where her video camera was set up, this black mass in the corner of our home. And so, well, what is this thing? And it was disrupting the sessions, right? Mm-hmm. They were fixating on it, and there were these varieties of lights. Well, after doing some digging on our side of the veil, and also employing spirit guides, different ghosts and spirits that reside in our home that we're in communication with, finding out that this portal was there, but this black mass was sort of the collective despair and frustration. We live in the Rust Belt. It is an economically depressed area. Some areas, opioid drug addiction, these kinds of things, a lot of violence. And so these dark energies seem to be feeding on all this misery and all this, and manifesting, coming through mirrors. So I would say every 3 weeks or so, someone contacts us with night terrors, shadows in their bedrooms, upticks, weird activity, their doors and windows opening, no explanation for them. And inevitably, if we say, cover your mirror, so the energy that they have to feast on and to be more powerful and to use things like mirrors as doorways, that's definitely upticking. And I think that's the result of, the times specifically that we're in.
Well, you would think that, everything is kind of uptick, as far as everybody's intuitive abilities and their stress levels and all those kinds of things. You can imagine, I can imagine, that has got to affect our living environment and those potential entities and situations that we were oblivious to for decades and eons, it sounds like to me. And you are now finding those manifestations with some of your clients that have been probably more heightened as you get in communication with them with this electronic media that we're now all utilizing. That's fascinating for me to think.
Absolutely. And I have noticed several clients that I work with to help develop, their psychic abilities, intuitive abilities, have almost had these spontaneous shifts in, just like this opening up of their psychic ability. Certainly we were working on that together, but this was almost like overnight. And, I'm getting reports from clients of instances of sleep paralysis. One client recently reported that what she had was almost like a classic bedroom abduction type experience, where in her case it was more like light beings who came. She was asleep, she had the sleep paralysis, then next thing she knows, she's sort of whether it was on a craft or not, she doesn't know, but in this room there are these beings who are benevolent, and they're doing some, sort of thing, she's not sure what, to her. But since then, her psychic ability was certainly increased. She had some health issues that had improved. And so just really fascinating stuff like that happening. And I do think it's just kind of a sign of where we are, as a species, where we are sort of, in the scheme of things. So it is very fascinating.
Yeah, you would think that there is going to be an effect, not just a cause, but an effect to all of this this new stuff that keeps happening to us. This new realization, I think, is becoming more of a conscious, kind of wave that people are experiencing. And experiencing, and you then are able to, with Zoomcasts, is that how you do it? Skype and those kinds of things, to work with folks in that regard?
Yeah, so I work with clients over Zoom, and I've had some really, for the most part, the sessions that we have go just fine without any sort of difficulties, but there have been a couple of times where there's interference. So we're talking, maybe we're doing a hypnosis session, or maybe we're talking about psychic development, and there's this interference, like this voice kind of breaks in, and it shouldn't be happening, and yet it is happening. And what's been really strange, I have one client in particular that I do hypnosis with, because I'm also a certified hypnotist, and he will hear on his end, he'll hear something completely different than what I'm hearing, but we're both hearing an interference. And it's just really bizarre, activity that's kind of happening. And it's almost like it's utilizing the technology to manifest.
So, that's basically, we've all heard the idea of how ghost boxes work, and the various gear that you can bring to manifest or at least record potential spirits and entities that might not use just audible language or whatever. So you're experiencing that with your technological ability to communicate with clients then.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Wow, I bet that's quite something that would blow them away. Obviously, they're not used to that in any kind of situation, let alone their own Zoomcast, for instance.
Yeah, and it kind of makes for a great teaching moment, particularly if you're working with someone on developing their psychic ability, because it's like, okay, well, here's a perfect opportunity to kind of tune in, see what you're getting, see what you're seeing and sensing. So and it's just fascinating to me. And what's really, and like you mentioned, with things like ghost boxes and technology like that, you never know. Joey and I use the PSB-11, and you just never know. You may have a session where you're just having all this communication, and it's very clear and succinct and coherent, and then sometimes you get nothing. So that's been really interesting too. Like I said, most of the sessions there's nothing, but it's maybe 2 or 3 sessions a week that I'll have with clients where it's just the whole session is just this very bizarre interference.
Yeah, and it's unexplainable as well. In all the multiple podcasts that I do, where periodically things like that will happen in the middle of a broadcast. Just strange electrical interference or phenomena that shouldn't be there. And of course, sometimes you attribute that to the stressed out bandwidth that you're dealing with, in this whole situation, because we all blame that as well. But some of it is kind of even beyond that, and very interesting to deal with. And you end up recognizing those unique times that seem to be kind of special or strange that you don't normally see. Well, listen, we're just getting started here, so we're going to be taking a break here now at the top of the hour, and we will be back in about 6 more minutes. So hang on there, both Joey and Tanya. We are going to be back with more of Spaced Out Sunday in a moment.
Looking for creative ways to get your company out in the public? How about advertising on Spaced Out Radio? Our sales department is waiting to hear from you, and we can work around any budget. From commercial spots to banners to special promotions, there are many opportunities to get your name and product out to our SOR listeners. For a price guide and more information, please contact us at sales@spacedoutradio.com.
If you like it hot, real hot, then heat up your meals with Bumblefoot hot sauce.
Get your Bumblefoot hot sauce today. The sauce, Bumblicious, and the 4 million Scoville unit Bumble. We're going in hot, real hot, coming out even hotter.
Keep the milk nearby. and tantalize your taste buds tonight.
Bumblefoot hot sauce, available now at kajans.com.
Get your horns up with me on Spaced Out Radio. This is Ron Bumblefoot Thal. Come tune in to SOR where you can hear me rock out with Little Brother is Watching, the official theme song of Spaced Out Radio. And then come on over to bumblefoot.com where you can find out about my tour schedule, my music, and everything else. Bumblefoot.com keeps you up to date on what I'm doing and the best way to stay in touch with my music and music camps. Sign up for my newsletter at bumblefoot.com and remember, Little Brother is watching.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com.
The SOR Vault is open for business, and do we have some cool swag for you to pick up? All you have to do is head over to our website and click on the SOR Vault. You have a variety of cool logos to choose from, and put them on anything you want. T-shirts, hoodies, hats, coffee mugs, you name it, we can get it to you. So do your shopping by supporting the store you love. Get your Spaced Out Radio swag at the SOR Vault today.
Hey everyone, I'm John Edwards.
And I'm Stacey Edwards. Together we're taking over Saturday nights on Spaced Out Radio, where we're going to bring our own experiences of the paranormal and talk to the best people we can find to help bring you answers to your strange tales.
We're here to entertain your need for weekend woo! So tune us in at spacedoutradio.com starting at 9:06 Pacific, 12:06 a.m. Eastern, where we can all get a little spooky together.
Spaced Out Saturday nights right here at spacedoutradio.com.
We are scouring the world for the most intriguing stories of your day. Take the time to read up on the SOR Newswire, where our team, led by Captain Shirk, will deliver to you some of the best paranormal and supernatural news, along with some stories that will blow your mind from the weird to the wacky. It's the news outside the news that piques interest, and that's what we're looking to deliver to you. The SOR Newswire, only at spacedoutradio.com.
We all know on Spaced Out Radio we love a good beard and mustache, so why not take care of your facial hair with Mighty Moose Beard Oil? Made in Canada, we're taking care of beards and stashes around the world. We use 100% natural ingredients with our oils and balms to make your whiskers feel silky smooth. Use promo code SOR2019 at mightymoosebeard.com today.
Hi, this is Amber Beckrud, and I want to invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel where we store all of the SOR show archives for free. And as an added bonus, every 2 weeks I'm posting brand new content on Cryptid Tales, where I will get into some of the spookier legends and folklore from around the world and tell the stories that go with them. Find us at youtube.com/spacedoutradio and check out Cryptid Tales today. Drop a comment and let me know what you want to hear. See you there.
Are you an experiencer of something strange that can't be explained? Do you want help finding out what's going on? I'm Ryan Stacy, head of the Experiencer Support Association, otherwise known as TESA. We've teamed up with Spaced Out Radio to investigate cases filled out in the SOR Sightlines report. We are independent and there's no cost to what we do. All we need is your experience. Let's find out what's happening together on the SOR Sightlines report.
Hey, space travelers, this is John Resig, founder of the Chive and Chive Charities. If you know anything about our website, you know we like to do things a little differently. We're not some faceless organization collecting money for a nebulous cause. Our donor dollars go directly toward life-improving items. Then we give those items directly to an underdog who needs it most. To become a donor with Spaced Out Radio's official charity, Chive Charities, just go to chivecharities.org/donate.
For the price of 1 cup of coffee a month, you can become an SOR Space Traveler. The Space Travelers Club is a place where you can interact with other listeners, either live during the show or on our great forum. We want your stories, pictures, comments, and ideas. You'll get live video streams, exclusive content, and be a part of our newsletter. Stay in touch with everything SOR. The Space Travelers Club is just $5 a month at spacedoutradio.com.
Hi there, this is Dave Scott, and I'm bringing you the Woo every Monday through Friday on Spaced Out Radio. I'm going all out to bring you the strangest, oddest stories and subjects I could find for your entertainment. Why? Because when we hit peak Woo, I know I've done my job. So come tune us in at spacedoutradio.com, 9:06 Pacific, 12:06 a.m. Eastern, and together, my friends, we own the night.
Welcome back to hour number 2 of Spaced Out Sunday. I'm your host, the paranormal lawyer, Michael W. Hall. Thanks for joining me. We welcome back everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates, WQEE 99.1 FM in Noonan, Georgia, and UPRN 107.7 FM in New Orleans. And on the digital side, we're very proud to be on Revolution Radio. And don't forget, you can always check with our archives for free at any time at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do us all a favor and hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to some Bumblefoot and shopping at our Spaced Out Radio store and catching up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire and so much more. And we are back with Joey and Tonya Madia, and we're talking about their new book, Roommates from Beyond, How to Live in a Haunted Home. I love that subtitle there. Gosh, you guys, I'm sure you've done some research on this that we would like to be interested or privy to as far as some of the stories that you've run across in this regard. You might want to kind of regale us on some of the things that were motivating you as you came across the research on this book.
Right. So most of it is actually experiential. So the book is in 4 parts. And the opening sort of sets it all up, talks about the uptick, talks a little bit about who we are. Because if you're going to read a handbook and you're going to take the advice from people, especially about dealing with hauntings in your home, in your personal space, which can be very upsetting and dramatic, you need to know who these people are. And then the next part is we talk about different homes that we've lived in and all the different phenomena. So we sort of have these laboratories that we've lived in. Now, Rosemary Ellen Guiley, who I'm sure many of your listeners have heard of Rosemary, right, author of over 60 books. And
yes.
Just a superstar in our field and hard work. Rosemary was our mentor for 10 years before she passed. And Rosemary always said that Tanya is a psychic battery. So wherever she goes, these things become very, very apparent. And then the third part of the book, and I think maybe that's where we can regale you with some interesting stories for now in this hour, is cases that we've worked on. So in the field, boots on the ground, as they say, practical stories about how we do our work, how we take an interview, how we proceed, what we find out, how we use those skills. And as you said with my bio, Michael, I'm a professional storyteller. And so I really believe that next week on our show, Into the Outer Realms, is going to be our topic, our subject. But I think that we don't look enough sometimes as paranormal investigators at story narrative. Who are the characters? How do the places play in? What are the circumstances? What are the wants, the needs, the motivations on both sides of the veil? So that's really what Tanya and I are trying to do. So, for instance, one case that we worked on, it's an old Victorian home. And it goes all the way back hundreds of years in a very rural area. And again, like our house here, the owner is still attached to the house. So that's one character in this play. On the other side, you have a family, and it's a mixed Italian and Latin family, and the daughter's going through a crisis. She's going through a divorce. So she moves into the house with her 3 kids, a teenager, I think a 10-year-old, and like a 3-year-old girl. And they bring everything with them. So now we have a situation where this Victorian house, rooms have been turned into storerooms. Instead of 2 people living there, we now have 6 people living there. And it's a family going through crisis. So there's this huge uptick of activity. So for those of your listeners who don't know, there are 4 levels of a haunting. The first one is manifestation. Oh, doors are slamming in the middle of the night. I hear footsteps. I hear weird voices. I see strange shadows. That's all fairly harmless and mundane. And we need to really catch things in the manifestation stage. So if the book preaches anything, it's, guys, don't wait, because the next is infestation. So now things are happening a lot, and now we're starting to feel poltergeist activity. Now people aren't sleeping quite as well because they're nervous. Family people and friends are starting to squabble, and they don't know why, but now they're suddenly under stress. Then we move on to oppression. So infestation will create stress. It will create fear, frustration, anger, and this energy is a battery. That this is what these entities want. These non-benevolent, so malevolent, dark entities. They want your fear. That's their feast. Then they can move into possession. Now, maybe in the last hour of the night, we've had to deal and personally have witnessed attempted and semi-possessions. You don't want to get to that stage. When you get to that stage, you need to call in the clergy, and you're having exorcisms, and you're purging and sending things into the void. We don't want to get there. So with this Victorian home, they're heavily into infestation, and it's getting to oppression. So we go in. It happens to be sort of an emergency situation. Typically what we'll do is through video conferencing and telephone, we will take a case history. We want to see what's going on, see if we can puzzle some things out from afar, if we can calm the situation down. Because we don't want a feedback loop of the people trying to oppress and make the spirits angry. There are a lot of things, that they show on reality TV that are bad. They make these situations way worse. Great for television, not good for reality. So we go in and do a case history because we happen to be in town. A mutual friend says, these people are in crisis. And they were, right? Mm-hmm. And they weren't sleeping. Right. So the boys upstairs, the teenagers sleeping upstairs, one of them is in a sleep study program at the time. And they've just prescribed medication. He cannot get a night's sleep. And the 10-year-old is struggling too. So I'm going to turn it over to Tanya because her psychic mediumship immediately began to come into play.
Right. So.
Wow.
Once.
Yeah,
a lot going on there. And what was really interesting, you could just get a sense when we got there after we had done the initial phone interview and then we got there to meet with them in person. Just the level of stress that this poor family was under. So anytime we initially get to a client's home, I don't like to know much about the activity, more about just the basics, why they want us to come, that type of thing, because the less I know, the better it is for me as I'm walking through the house and picking things up. So we went upstairs and I went to the bedroom of the boy who wasn't sleeping, but at the time I didn't know anything about that. And what I was seeing was this very elderly woman with kind of wild hair, and I was noticing, I was getting an image of her coming in and poking someone who slept there, and I didn't know who slept there at the time, but I said, who sleeps here, because whoever it is not sleeping, because this woman keeps coming in and poking and waking that person up. And that's when the grandmother of the boy revealed that, this is my grandson's room. He's in a sleep study. He hasn't slept well for a long time. They can't figure out what it is. And I said, well, I'll tell you what it is. It's this woman. And so I could tell that she had dementia, and during the interview, it came out that she was probably the daughter of the original owner of the home, and she had fought tooth and nail to keep the home after her father had passed, and lived there until a very advanced age, and died in the house. So.
Right, which brings up a thorny problem. So we're looking for mutual respect. So we have the owner of the home is in the home, and he's not happy that the home now has been turned into a storage space, and there's all this chaos in different ways, physically and emotionally and all that. There's his daughter. When her husband died, and her husband died on the property, he was cutting trees in their apple orchard, and a tree fell on him, and he died in the living room of the home. So now we have another energetic trauma tied to the house. Well, the original owner's brother tried to get the daughter out of the house. I'm a male, and I have more rights than you. And so, Michael, she walked 17 miles to get to a courthouse to defend her right to have that home.
Oh, my goodness.
So that is going to survive death. That is a commitment to that property. You know, where your father was the original owner, he was very prominent with the clergy. There was a little bit of a grumble about maybe his sexual orientation, but they think really that it was a dispute with the church elders. As a matter of fact, Tanya, you got confirmation on that, that he was set up in a time where there was zero tolerance. They ran him out of the church. You have all this. There's this beautiful fireplace, marble, and in the house. It's not original to the house. The woman who originally owned the fireplace, her house burned down, and when they rescued the fireplace, she came with it. So you have this whole cast of characters, plus the family is very lively. Like I said, they're Italian, and the woman, the grandmother, the matriarch, is telling us, oh yes, and my sister got involved with this man who was married, and his wife was a witch, so she cast a spell on my family, and now my sister's turning against us, and we're going, whoa.
There's a lot going on.
There's a lot going on. So we ward the property,
and then you have an entity, this old woman who is dementia issues. You know, in the veil on the other side. I mean, I can't even imagine all of that going on in the same household.
Right. While you have a little girl, you have the disruption of this family living there. Everyone's out of sorts. The boys aren't sleeping. Their mom, we finally met her on our second visit. She's all kinds of stressed out, as you can imagine, and the air is just crackling with electricity. So we ward the exterior of the property with ceremonial tobacco and salt and prayers and things like that. I go out and do that while Tanya is talking to the family about next steps. We know we have to come back and cross this woman over. But I think a big mistake that gets made, and we learned this when we were doing the library investigation for 2 years in North Carolina, is ghosts and spirits get fatigued the same way people do. So if you think about a police interrogation, the longer we go, the sooner these people are going to crack. Well, that's great when you have a criminal and you're trying to get them to confess. But you don't want to be upsetting ghosts and spirits who are already, oppressing you and infesting your home. So we said enough for now. So in the interim, as often happens, the activity ticked up even further. We went back the next week, but in the intervening time, things came off the walls, things broke, more doors were slamming, because you get, and Tanya, you can speak more to this, but when you notice them, Michael, they notice you back. So they knew that Tanya could see them. He was upset. The man, he went and hid in the attic right when you saw him downstairs.
Right. He wasn't thrilled that I could see him, and I was describing him. And the matriarch of the family, she had described when they initially moved into the home like 20 years ago, she saw him as almost like a solid. She thought it was an actual man. She was out on the porch. I forget what she was doing, but they had just moved in. And she saw this man in period clothing. Just as solid as anything. And it wasn't until later that she realized, oh, wow. And subsequently, they had a lot of encounters and suspected that some people had been pushed downstairs at some point. So
had things thrown at them, toys.
Things thrown at them. So he seemed to be he could go hot or cold, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. Sometimes he would be fine, but other times, like, it was like if he didn't like you, he might push you down the stairs or he might throw something at you. So, there. After, as Joey mentioned, after we had our initial visit, there was this uptick and things were like flying off walls, and so they sort of suspected that was the original owner and not his daughter, who I was seeing, the old woman with dementia. And that made sense to me because where I was seeing the older woman was just in that one area on the second floor. It was like sort of between, there was a bathroom and then the room where I was seeing her poke the sleeping person or the sleeping boy. And I would see her move between those two rooms. And I had said, I think in her advanced age, this was probably her room, and this was sort of just where she stayed in the house, in these two areas, and she was just really confused about why these other people were in her space. So I had done some meditating, working with my spirit guides, and got some pretty clear instruction on the best way to cross her over. And what was really cool about that is one of my spirit guides suggested that we would want to play 1930s music.
Oh.
Which we did. And it was just very cool to watch. So we played the music, and then they had us go into the bathroom. And as I'm looking in the mirror in the bathroom, I could see this party, this, with the period music playing and people in the 1930s clothes, and there's this sort of like party happening, and they enticed the woman, and I'm sure it's people that she knew who had crossed before her. They enticed her in through the mirror into this party to cross her over, and I just thought that was so wonderful.
Oh my goodness. It sounds like a wonderful end of a Twilight Zone episode where in reality she finds crossing over is not that bad, maybe, or more of a joyful experience. Oh, that's very interesting.
Yeah, so the boys could sleep, the activity calmed, and this poor family could just deal, with the upheavals of life on this side, and it kind of calmed everything down, and so that was a win. You're a lawyer, so you have your wins, which are great, and sometimes you have your losses. We can talk about a loss anytime you want to too, because those are instructive, and we've also put those in the book. So if you only put in your wins, right, like Sherlock Holmes only wanted Dr. Watson to talk about his wins, right? There's very few in the 64 stories, very few of his losses. And we don't need to do that. We need to let people know that this is serious and it's difficult and things can get murky. But that one was a win. That was really nice.
Oh, it was. Very interesting how you were also then intuitive enough to consult with your own spirit guides and be able to come up with some very creative strategies in helping that situation resolve itself. You would think that many of the folks you see on these programs, on television or whatever, they kind of use the bravado that they're demanding this, to happen. And you got a different approach there.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, what's interesting to me that my guides came back with that is music is something that's very often used to help dementia patients.
Oh.
It's something that they can remember. And I think that was the tool to sort of entice her, because I think she was there because she was just confused. And this often happens with, spirits who haven't crossed over, is they don't even realize they've passed. So if you're suffering from dementia and you pass on, not realizing you're dead, you're still in this sort of befuddled state. And I think it was really the music. It was something that could really grab her attention, get her to focus so that she could make that transition.
Oh, that is just amazing. I mean, of course, music has always been a large part of my life as well, but I can well imagine that that kind of oral stimulus to someone who is in a compromised position themselves anyway, not only just being recently deceased, but also in that mental state that they don't even realize it. Even if they were, in a position to do so, music was something that you were able to find as a calming effect to make sure that the transition was easy for them. That's great.
Mm-hmm. And Tanya, correct me if I'm wrong, but your spirit guides gave you a specific song.
We'll have to check our notes. There was a specific song.
Right, and the actual song, what it was, I think is immaterial, but it was a song that had a strong association for her that was able to pull her focus, and then Tanya's spirit guide was then able, being on the other side, to facilitate and sort of gather her people. I mean, it's amazing when you think about it, how all of this works. For her to have this moment of recognition, because as soon as we started playing the song on the phone, there was a change in her demeanor. I remember you saying that. So yeah, pretty interesting.
Oh my! Talk about a storyline, a movie, plot, those kinds of things. Oh, that is just wonderful. The idea that these kinds of soothing of the beast with the music, that kind of thing has always been fascinating to me. But the idea that memory is tied in with music is, of course, 100% right on track. Every time you hear a certain song, you have certain memories that come along with it, and that was able to be tapped into by your own spirit guides to help facilitate this specific situation. Wow. I love it. This is great stuff. We are now at the bottom of the hour. We're going to have to take our bottom of the hour break there, but we are going to be right back with more of Spaced Out Sunday in just a moment. If you'll stay with us, folks, we will be right back.
Cold drinks, great food, and the best music in Vancouver. The Moose Vancouver is the place to be, open until 2 a.m. nightly. Everything on the menu starts at just $6.95. Who serves food that cheap anymore? At the Moose, you'll never know who you'll run into. Rock stars, actors, athletes. It's the place everyone wants to be. So join us at the Moose Vancouver, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
Hey, space travelers, this is John Resig, founder of the Chive and Chive Charities. If you know anything about our website, you know we like to do things a little differently. We're not some faceless organization collecting money for a nebulous cause. Our donor dollars go directly toward life-improving items. Then we give those items directly to an underdog who needs it most. To become a donor with Spaced Out Radio's official charity, Chive Charities, just go to chivecharities.org/donate.
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot Thal, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world. You can head over to my website, bumblefoot.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know Little Brother is watching.
We're adding to the entertainment online for Spaced Out Radio. I'm Amber Beckrud, and I want to invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel and check out Cryptid Tales, where I will take you on a journey into some of the strangest legends and lore from around the world, relaying the stories to you of the strange creatures and experiences that people have had throughout time. You can find Cryptid Tales at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. And while you're there, don't forget to check out our free archives and leave a comment. See you there.
Hey everybody, the SOR Space Travelers is open. For just $5 a month, you can hang out with Dave and our crew privately in our members-only section. With your signing, you'll receive newsletters on what's going on with Spaced Out Radio. You'll have direct contact with the host during the show in our chat, live streaming videos, and a great forum for your posts and more. Become a space traveler now at spacedoutradio.com.
Looking for something new to push your limits? Look Beyond the Spectrum, a new docuseries featuring some of the best researchers in the world when it comes to everything from UFOs, government cover-ups, and strange humanoids. Truth seekers Stephen Bassett, Jeff Meldrum, Jack Kasher, and Stanton Friedman, among others, all chip in to bring their knowledge to you. Beyond the Spectrum can be found on Amazon as well as Tubi TV. Tell us what you think on our Amazon page.
Are you looking for great advertising value for your company? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. We have a multitude of places to get your name out there, including commercial ads during the show, special promotions, and banners on our website. Our audience is proven to support the companies that support our show. We can make your budget work for you. So for more information, please contact us at sales@spacedoutradio.com.
At spacedoutradio.com, we are keeping you up to date on all the news with the SOR Newswire. Captain Shirk leads the team that is bringing you the news of the day and exclusive stories on everything paranormal and supernatural. It's free to read, it's updated daily, and it's right there for you. The SOR Newswire is a one-stop shop for the news of the day. Check it out at spacedoutradio.com today.
Hello everyone, this is Ryan Stacy from the Experiencer Support Association, otherwise known as TESSA. We're glad to team up with Spaced Out Radio to help investigate your experiences on the SOR Sightlines Report. Together, we'll investigate the strange sightings and occurrences you've had. We're looking for answers just like you. So fill out a Sightlines report on the Spaced Out Radio website and let's figure out what's going on together.
Need that weekend supernatural fix? Look no further than Spaced Out Saturday right here at spacedoutradio.com. I'm Stacey Edwards.
And I'm John Edwards. Each Saturday night, Stacey and I are going to bring you the best in paranormal, cryptids, UFOs, you name it, and we're going there.
It's all about the experience and to share the knowledge with all of you.
So tune us in every Saturday night on Spaced Out Saturdays, starting at 9:06 p.m. Pacific, 12:06 a.m. Eastern, only at spacedoutradio.com.
Hello, space travelers. It's me again, Carl. Don't forget to join the Space Travelers Club for just $5 a month and follow Spaced Out Radio on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Our Instagram, Dave Scott SOR. Our Facebook page is Spaced Out Radio Show. Our archives are free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Come woo it up with Spaced Out Radio today. Bye!
I'm feeling a little spicy tonight. What to do? What to do?
Why not get Bumblefuck?
4 million Scoville units of pure hard rock. Bumblefoot hot sauces come in 3 flavors. The burning Bumble. Tone it down a bit with Bumblicious and throw the sauce on everything.
Spicing up. Bumble me, baby. Bumblefoot hot sauce. Get it today at kajans.com.
Okay, we are back on Spaced Out Sunday with Joey and Tonya Madia. And boy, are we on a roll here. We're talking about their new book, basically, and we're talking about hauntings, manifestations, infestations, oppressions, and possessions. But the title to the book I love. This is called Roommates from Beyond, How to Live in a Haunted Home. This is fascinating subject matter, you guys.
Well, thank you. We think so.
And the idea that you also come armed with experience and not only your intuitions, Tanya, as well, but you've got kind of like a cadre of spiritual guides as well that seem to be quite helpful for you.
Absolutely, yes. I work with them all the time.
Are these spiritual guides that you've accumulated recently, or was this something that you were kind of used to during your lifetime and they're now becoming helpful for you? Tell me a little bit about them.
That's a great question. So I mean, we all have spirit guides. Everyone has spirit guides, and we have guides that come in with us and work with us throughout our entire lifetimes. And we also have guides that sort of come and work with us on certain areas, and then when that work is done, they will move on, and maybe some other guides will move in. For the most part, I work with both. I have guides that I know have been with me. I remember being a very small child, some of my earliest memories of just otherworldly experiences had to do with just knowing that there were these beings around me, and I'm talking maybe 3 years old, and hearing my name called and hearing voices and just feeling like there were these beings around me, even though I couldn't necessarily see them. I could definitely sense their presence and know that they were around. I talk a lot about grandparents being guides, and I do have both of my paternal grandparents have been guides for me. So my paternal grandfather died when my dad was only 3 years old. He was hit by a train. Ironically, he had just returned from World War II. He had survived the war. He gets home and gets killed by a train. So I never met him, but my mother talks about having seen him visit my crib as a baby, and I always kind of felt like he was around me, even and it was really uncanny, like I would know things about him that I shouldn't have known as a very small child because I never met him, and they hadn't talked to me, meaning my parents, a lot about him. So grandparents are a guide. My paternal grandmother was also a psychic medium and introduced me to a lot, kind of to all things metaphysical, I guess, as a young child. And after she passed, I was in my early 20s when she passed, and she's also served as a guide for me, so she's also very helpful. And, friends who have passed, who have served as mentors over the years, serve as guides. And I also work with angels. So I get a lot of guidance from angels as well. But, we all have these guides, and it's really just a matter of, there are different meditations you can do. I lead my clients in guided meditations to help them meet their guides. But it's just wonderful. We all have this guidance available to us to tap into. And it's just pretty amazing. I feel really blessed.
Is this something that you are able to teach your clients or help your clients determine maybe the difference between a spiritual guide and that still small voice that seems to be their own as well? Is there a difference that you try to bring along with folks in understanding how to determine what they are they should be listening to?
That's a great question, and yes, that is definitely something I work with my clients to help them develop. I mean, sometimes you might not even know or be able to discern the difference. Sometimes that little inner voice is your guides whispering in your ear. I don't know that it necessarily matters. I think what's more important is that you just listen and trust the voice. And that's really what I work with my clients on. We all get these little knowings, these little instincts. And for the most part, because, our society really dismisses anything that can't be seen, touched, or, we're conditioned to ignore that. So it's really just relearning how to tune back into it the way that we did as young children. But guides talk to us in a lot of different ways. They give us signs. Synchronicity is a favorite way that they communicate. Oftentimes people report things like, feathers. They'll find feathers, or they'll find coins, like pennies from heaven is a big thing that people find. They communicate through dreams. But, I absolutely do work with my clients to help them meet their guides, recognize them. I have guides that I see very clearly, almost as if they're, solid, individuals standing right there. And then I have guides that I don't really see them at all. I just sort of sense and hear them as they're talking to me. So guides are as widely varied as people.
I'll bet. And as I get older, I'm learning the subtleties of communication in that regard as well. That it's so subtle sometimes. Matter of fact, I'm catching myself periodically as I get older of marveling at the idea of, for instance, a synchronicity, just showing up out of nowhere. And normally in the old days, I would have just kind of forgot about it, gone on with my day without even acknowledging those small little times during the day that just get your attention nowadays. And I'm learning that is more and more what I need to do is just quiet myself and take stock of those small times during the day that seem to be very, very meaningful.
Absolutely, they are, and that's wonderful that you're doing that. And it's so true. Synchronicities are such a great tool that our guides have for communicating with us. And I always recommend, like you said, quiet yourself, and in the moment that you're noticing the synchronicity, really take stock. Take a moment. What am I feeling right now? What am I experiencing? What am I seeing? And it's all, data that you can sort of put together to figure out exactly what's trying to be communicated. And I always find synchronicities that come for me in threes. So I'll have one and it'll be really profound and it'll be like, oh, okay. And then another one, I'm like, aha. And then the third one will show up and I'll be like, okay, that's three. I'm listening.
Those are the ones that then finally get your attention, obviously. Yes. And I'm learning myself that as they come, even the first one, the first synchronicities and those kinds of things, to try to take stock of what it potentially could mean, rather than just, dismissing it and going on with your day, trying to take stock of what could this possibly mean to me, in what I'm dealing with right now. And sometimes it's even just a memory from a dream potential I had during that night that I didn't even remember waking up with, but all of a sudden something synchronistically happens to me during the day, and all of a sudden it reminds me of something that I did indeed dream about for some reason, and it seems to be meaningful at the time then.
Absolutely. And dreams are definitely a big one where, exactly like you said, you may not remember and then something springs up in the middle of your day and you go, oh, wait a minute, that showed up for me in a dream last night. And it's fun. I think that guides like to be playful and they like to communicate with us in these fun little ways. And if we're just open to it and find the fun of it in the moment. Another big one too is when you wake up and there's a song in your head.
Oh.
That, you haven't heard that song for like 20 years and all of a sudden, there it is. So I always, look up the lyrics and, what's the message there?
Yeah. Exactly. And what does that song mean to you, or what did it mean to you potentially?
Mm-hmm.
And, how does that relate to what's going on in your life currently potentially, that does have some meaning that you need to recall, because as you were mentioning the idea of music, there's also the idea of smells. Of different things that bring back those memories that are so important to us, and we almost think that they're insignificant, but they seem to have such major things attached to them that maybe could help us.
So true. Yes. Smells, songs. Absolutely. Those are, they're hold big emotional anchors for many people. So that's, why a song can transport you back immediately, or, the smell of grandma's cookies, and all of a sudden you're just transported right into grandma's kitchen, that type of thing. There's so much rich emotion tied to those types of things.
Well, and I would imagine during the manifestation period, or the even infestation period, you're going to find some of those, maybe even aromas, that people talk about in hauntings, that come and go, that also deal with spirits as well.
Yeah, and that's a one, being an actor, that's the sense that we're most trained on as far as evoking memory. So you blindfold, here's a lemon, what does it bring back? Or you smell honeysuckle. There are certain smells that take me back to college and very formative experiences. So those, yes, smells. So for us recently, an aunt of mine who was Tanya's original teacher with pranic healing and breathing, and sort of said, you really have a gift. I'm going to help you cultivate it. And that really opened the path for Tanya to a series of teachers, as often happens. When she's around, we smell cigarette smoke. That was one of her things.
Yeah.
So that happened recently as this portal was open in our house of this black mass, and we were doing our Into the Outer Realms, our weekly live stream show. And during the show, people are writing in the chat room, there's spirits behind you, and there's someone knocking things off your shelf. She's a trickster. And we're talking about certain spirits that we've met, and the lights are flickering, and it's this whole weird kind of circus. But during that time of activity, we started to smell that smoke. Now, at the web library that we investigated for a couple years, one of the doctors that had originally, his family had owned the land, and then he had a doctor's office there. You knew when he was around, and really his energy was robust because of cherry pipe tobacco.
Ah, yes.
It was beautiful to smell, yeah. And, but then again, talking about wins and losses and all this kind of stuff, the other day I was sitting here at my desk, and all of a sudden I was smelling this really strong smell, sort of lavender or whatever. And I called Tanya in and I said, I keep getting a whiff of this lavender. I think someone's around. And it turned out I had a particularly fragrant candle that, when the air conditioning came on or whatever, it blew just in the right way. So, you have to be honest about the fact that even as a seasoned investigator, sometimes the mundane creeps in and confuses you. But you're absolutely right. Smell is something to be aware of, right? How about the stinky guy, huh?
Oh,
He was kind of our intro to haunting 20 years ago.
Yeah, the stinky old man phenomenon. So one of our first experiences, we had this apartment in New Jersey. Kids were little. And we'd be sitting in the living room, and this very pungent odor would show up, and it would kind of move around the living room, and it just smelled like,
A sick old man.
Like, yeah. And
we thought it was the boys. We were like, are you using soap when you're showering or what? Yeah, Dad, we totally are.
And it wasn't the boys. And
No.
like I said, it would kind of move around, and it would just spontaneously show up, and then later it would disappear. Now, interestingly, after months and months of that, at the time our daughter was about 3 years old, and she's also a psychic medium, and she's been seeing and experiencing spirits since she was tiny. So she's 3 years old, and I'm in the kitchen washing dishes, and she comes in and she says, Mommy, there's an old man sitting on the couch in the living room. And I'm like, what? So I go in there, and I wasn't seeing spirits at the time. I actually didn't start seeing spirits until after I had my third Reiki attunement, and that was years later. So at the time, I didn't see spirits, but she saw him, and I'm convinced that the old man that she saw was the source of the phenomenon.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Now that's interesting. How the idea of music can be used. And also, in a situation of communication. But what do you do with a stinky old soul who, who, I don't know how you would deal with that. I mean, that's very interesting, whether it gets, to a level of oppression or not, as far as a haunting goes, and how would you get someone crossed over or even dealt with a situation like that? That's fascinating, almost humorous.
Yeah, it can be very humorous.
And humor's key.
Mm-hmm.
Humor's key because it's a good high vibration energy, so it counters the dark vibration, and they're not getting what they want from you. But 20 years ago, we didn't know what to ask, but now, and that's again, you get to a certain threshold where you go, we have all this knowledge, we really should share it. Like there's enough that it can be organized, and so now we would ask. We would say, well, okay, we can tell that someone is here. Obviously, you don't want to insult them and say, who needs a shower out there on the other side? That's not a good way to make a relationship. But simply ask, story. We all have wants, we all have needs, we all have motivations. And if this smell is a way that he can make contact, well, he's going to use it. And so we're going to honor it, and it's going to be an entry point into a conversation. And we'll go from there.
Yeah, there you go. I think that's a good point that, any kind of conversation or contact at all is just the beginning of something that potentially can be managed, I would imagine.
Yeah, I think as we've been having this conversation, I really wanted to say the more that we can, and we're going to share with you probably in the final segment, we've written a paranormal Bill of Rights, Michael.
Oh,
it's
nice.
It's 10 points, and it's going to be debuted in the book. But the more that we treat those on the other side as we would treat people on this side, the better the outcomes are going to be. Because I can't tell you how many emails we get from amateur and budding, aspiring paranormal investigators who say, well, we got our first case, and there's this person, and there's this thing in their house. The cat's frightened of it, and their maid is seeing this woman, and we're going to the house, and we're going to banish it. Whoa, 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 whoa. Bad things happen when there's someone new in the neighborhood, and you go out with a gun, and that's your very first step. I'm going to run you out. So we always say, no. Well, what have you found out about the case? We don't know anything about the case. It's freaking out the people, and we're going to go in and... Okay. Talk to the people. Get some information. Of course the cat's going to notice. As Tanya knows, cats are always in this alpha state where they're highly alert to these things. So great. There's something going on, but it's not causing any problem. It's hardly a manifestation. So we are not, if our neighbor plays their music a little loud at 2 p.m. in our apartment building, we are not going to go to the super and ask that they be evicted. I mean, this is just common sense.
Right.
But we are going to knock on their door and say, listen, I work from home, and I don't stop working until 4:30 in the afternoon. I'm on the phone, I'm doing video, I'm trying to concentrate. If you could keep your music down till 4:30, that would be great. So why can't we do that with the other side? That's what Tanya and I are endeavoring to do.
That is fascinating to me that you have actually taken the time to think about the idea of a paranormal Bill of Rights, basically, is what you're talking about, for spirits on other sides of the veil. I'm very interested in that. We're going to have to get into that for sure very quickly, because I have always been interested in the idea of conflicts of law. The whole idea of our ecocentric idea of every single thing on our planet or in our realms of experience are supposedly, codified law from our own perspective, let alone what would another race from another planet think about, our, English common law, for instance, of possession of things, all that kind of stuff. I always have been very interested in that perspective of a universal idea of how do you get along with other races, let alone other entities. So we're going to have to do that for sure next, to get in the idea of the idea that you guys have come across these kinds of things that seem to work on both sides of the veil, it sounds like.
Right. That's exactly it. Through trial and error. And, Michael, the one good thing about getting older is you amass experience, and knowledge turns to wisdom. And so that's what we're trying to do, Yeah.
Yeah, and obviously it's something that you've got to go through a lot of trials and tribulations, a lot of different, issues that you hear about and try to resolve before you can get to a point where you have that perspective where you can actually assume, things that, normally would not be truthful, in a normal situation. So I can't imagine what was the first inkling that came to you that sent you on a path of even thinking in that regard. Was it something very dramatic, or was it something quite subtle?
I think it was subtle. We were working on the book, and we had a couple of cases that were frustrating. And the emails and phone calls coming in about, we're going to go banish this thing into the void. And also watching the reality shows, right? Anytime that you were, back in the day, and I know even in modern times when you're in law school, you do a ton of reading of cases, right? You study cases. But when back in the day, revolutionary times and all, you sat and you read. That's what they said. You're reading for and getting acquainted. So is that. So it surprised me. I went out on the internet one day and I said, I need to reference. Someone has codified good behavior for paranormal investigators for good outcomes. And Michael, there's nothing out there. This goes all the way back to the 1840s with the Fox sisters, right?
Oh,
with the rapping.
Yeah.
In New York. So we're talking almost 200 years, a lot of very smart people who have studied this, and no one set down a Bill of Rights to say, here's what our responsibilities are for good outcomes. So we were in a very humble way, and we ran it through a lot of colleagues to read, and we came up with this. And one paranormal group in New York adopted it straight away.
Oh my!
It was nice.
Yeah. Codification that was basically peer reviewed. Then it sounds like.
Yeah. I mean, you have to and look for holes and redundancies, and where your own biases are still getting in the way, because as open-minded as we try to be, we still bring in biases that we don't realize, but they get buried in our language. You know that as a lawyer, right?
Oh yeah.
Language. Yeah. So we're excited to trot it out in the new book.
Oh, that's great. We're going to have to get into that here after the break. We're at the top of the hour, of course, and we are going to take our break, and we'll be back in about 6 more minutes. So hang on, folks. We will be right back with more of Spaced Out Sunday in just a moment.
Hey, space travelers. This is John Resig, founder of the Chive and Chive Charities. If you know anything about our website, you know we like to do things a little differently. We're not some faceless organization collecting money for a nebulous cause. Our donor dollars go directly toward life-improving items. Then we give those items directly to an underdog who needs it most. To become a donor with Spaced Out Radio's official charity, Chive Charities, just go to chivecharities.org/donate.
Are you an experiencer of something strange that can't be explained? Do you want help finding out what's going on? I'm Ryan Stacy, head of the Experiencer Support Association, otherwise known as TESA. We've teamed up with Spaced Out Radio to investigate cases filled out in the SOR Sightlines report. We are independent, and there's no cost to what we do. All we need is your experience. Let's find out what's happening together on the SOR Sightlines report.
We are scouring the world for the most intriguing stories of your day. Take the time to read up on the SOR Newswire, where our team, led by Captain Shirk, will deliver to you some of the best paranormal and supernatural news, along with some stories that will blow your mind from the weird to the wacky. It's the news outside the news that piques interest, and that's what we're looking to deliver to you. The SOR Newswire, only at spacedoutradio.com.
Hi there, this is Dave Scott, and I'm bringing you the Woo every Monday through Friday on Spaced Out Radio. I'm going all out to bring you the strangest, oddest stories and subjects I could find for your entertainment. Why? Because when we hit peak Woo, I know I've done my job. So come tune us in at spacedoutradio.com, 9:06 Pacific, 12:06 a.m. Eastern, and together, my friends, we own the night.
The SOR Vault is open for business, and do we have some cool swag for you to pick up? All you have to do is head over to our website and click on the SOR Vault. You have a variety of cool logos to choose from, and put them on anything you want. T-shirts, hoodies, hats, coffee mugs, you name it, we can get it to you. So do your shopping by supporting the store you love. Get your Spaced Out Radio swag at the SOR Vault today.
If you like it hot, real hot, then heat up your meals with Bumblefoot hot sauce.
Get your Bumblefoot hot sauce today. The sauce, Bumblicious, and the 4 million Scoville unit Bumble. We're going in hot, real hot, coming out even hotter.
Keep the milk nearby and tantalize your taste buds tonight.
Bumblefoot hot sauce, available now at kajans.com.
Hello, space travelers. It's me again, Carl. Don't forget to join the Space Travelers Club for just $5 a month and follow Spaced Out Radio on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Our Instagram, Dave Scott SOR. Our Facebook page is Spaced Out Radio Show. Our archives are free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Come woo it up with Spaced Out Radio today. Bye!
We all know on Spaced Out Radio we love a good beard and mustache, so why not take care of your facial hair with Mighty Moose Beard Oil? Made in Canada, we're taking care of beards and stashes around the world. We use 100% natural ingredients with our oils and balms to make your whiskers feel silky smooth. Use promo code SOR2019 at mightymoosebeard.com today.
Looking for creative ways to get your company out in the public? How about advertising on Spaced Out Radio? Our sales department is waiting to hear from you, and we can work around any budget. From commercial spots to banners to special promotions, there are many opportunities to get your name and product out to our SOR listeners. For a price guide and more information, please contact us at sales@spacedoutradio.com.
Get your horns up with me on Spaced Out Radio. This is Ron Bumblefoot Thal. Come tune in to SOR where you can hear me rock out with Little Brother is Watching, the official theme song of Spaced Out Radio. And then come on over to bumblefoot.com where you can find out about my tour schedule, my music, and everything else. Bumblefoot.com keeps you up to date on what I'm doing and the best way to stay in touch with my music and music camps. Sign up for my newsletter at bumblefoot.com and remember, Little Brother is Watching.
Hi, this is Amber Beckrud, and I want to invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel where we store all of the SOR show archives for free. And as an added bonus, every 2 weeks I'm posting brand new content on Cryptid Tales, where I will get into some of the spookier legends and folklore from around the world and tell the stories that go with them. Find us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio and check out Cryptid Tales today. Drop a comment and let me know what you want to hear. See you there.
For the price of 1 cup of coffee a month, you can become an SOR Space Traveler. The Space Travelers Club is a place where you can interact with other listeners, either live during the show or on our great forum. We want your stories, pictures, comments, and ideas. You'll get live video streams, exclusive content, and be a part of our newsletter. Stay in touch with everything SOR. The Space Travelers Club is just $5 a month at spacedoutradio.com.
Hey everyone, I'm John Edwards.
And I'm Stacey Edwards. Together we're taking over Saturday nights on Spaced Out Radio, where we're going to bring our own experiences of the paranormal and talk to the best people we can find to help bring you answers to your strange tales.
We're here to entertain your need for weekend woo! So tune us in at spacedoutradio.com starting at 9:06 Pacific, 12:06 a.m. Eastern, where we can all get a little spooky together.
Spaced Out Saturday nights right here at spacedoutradio.com.
Welcome back to the third and final hour of Spaced Out Sunday. I am your host, Michael W. Hall. Thank you for being with us. Welcome back, everyone listening in our terrestrial affiliates, WQEE 99.1 in Noonan, Georgia, and UPRN 107.7 in New Orleans. And on the digital side, we are on Revolution Radio. Don't forget, you can always check out our archives for free at youtube.com/spacedoutradio. Do us all a favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website, of course, is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to some Bumblefoot and shopping at our Spaced Out Radio store and catching up on SOR Newswire and so much more. And we are back with Tanya and Joey Madia, and we are talking about interesting manifestations and infestations, oppressions, and potential even possessions regarding their new book that has come out called Roommates from Beyond. How to live in a haunted home, not a haunted house, but a haunted home when you're sharing that with the potential other alien entity or spiritual, not alien necessarily entities, but we're also talking about the paranormal Bill of Rights and whether there is one. So welcome back, guys.
Thank you.
Boy, now I probably misquoted the idea of a paranormal Bill of Rights, but what would you be calling that we were discussing earlier before the break?
That is exactly what we're calling it. We just put it out there and we're calling it the Paranormal Bill of Rights, and it is 10 items.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So highly codified, and we can share the first couple if you'd like.
Yeah, we don't have to go through all of them, of course, but right. I think it would be a good idea for us to hit maybe a few highlights to show people that this is something that they ought to be thinking about.
Yeah, absolutely. So
number one is entities and haunted locations are not specimens or attractions to be examined or disturbed at our whim, for our amusement, or to satisfy our curiosity.
Oh, very good. Very good.
Yeah, because we really found that out when we did the 2-year investigation of the Webb Memorial Library in North Carolina. People are coming in and they want to disturb things. Some of our paranormal Bill of Rights is pushback against the reality TV shows. I am less hesitant to talk about that because our mentor, Rosemary Ellen Guiley, at the end of her career, was talking about that a lot. It really makes our job difficult because it demonstrates bad behavior to hundreds of thousands of people where we're reaching dozens and hundreds at a time. So we're at a disadvantage because it's media and it's big media. So to try to quell that attitude, you don't, number 3 on the list, which is kind of tied into it is not our place to use the tools of our trade to poke, prod, and invade the psychic bodies and minds of entities. So on my fiction side, I write a lot about Frankenstein and Jekyll and Moreau and these scientists and using science and technology to kind of usurp the natural order. It's not helpful to do those things. And in Tanya and I's experience, spirits and ghosts will undergo fatigue. They will undergo fatigue and they will up their tricksterism. They're fully capable of lying to you, to be sarcastic. We were using the spirit box one night, and I think they were a little fatigued, and we were new at it, and we were just rapid asking questions. And a mentor of ours said, why don't you just ask them what they're seeing? So we said, if there were any spirits or ghosts here, can you tell us what you're seeing? And through the PSP-11, through the spirit box, we clearly heard, what are you seeing? So you learn the lesson that they have personalities, that they're sentient beings. And if you don't treat them with respect, they're capable of doing bad things. Now, in a situation where you're dealing with infestation, you're dealing with oppression, and the stakes are high because damage can be done. Dark entities you really don't want to be poking and prodding and figuring out, you want to solve the problem. You want to calm it down. You want to calm down the people so they're not a feast, an energy feast. And you want to try to manage these entities so that they're capable of pushing back on you. And that's the dangerous thing. So you negotiate, and if you can't do that, so that's the Paranormal Bill of Rights bills. It works like that. They're just. I'll just share one more. Under no circumstances do we yell at or threaten entities, because that was all the rage on the reality shows.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
Oh, you're a dirty little. It's a ghost of a prostitute, and they call her every name in the book because, oh wow, the energy spikes, and now we're getting readings, and now doors are slamming, and this is great television. But again, that metaphor. If you go to your neighbor and you start calling them names, we're seeing it every day, right, on the streets of America. People are not talking to each other. They're not honoring our own Bill of Rights, our own good modes for behavior. So, okay, you're going to get a flashy result, but you're not going to get the result you want. And Tanya and I do this for one reason only, to help people.
Yeah.
Right, hon?
Right. And as someone who sees the spirits when we go to a location, I mean, I've said this for years now, they're just people without bodies. So, for the most part, I mean, there have been times where you're dealing with something that is non-human, but for the most part, hauntings are the spirits of people. And so why treat them any differently than you would treat, as Joey said, your neighbor? Treat them with respect. It's a sentient being. Respect and kindness. And we've even had encounters where, it was a ghost of a human. He wasn't a nice human in life. He was quite malicious, and he was continuing to be malicious and even a little malevolent. But we were able to work with him. I sent Reiki and healing, and eventually was able to kind of turn him over to the light side and get him to cross over. And that's what you want. I mean, to me, it's about finding a way to help people either heal, cross over. That's the point to me. That's the point of the work, not to provoke and just to get some kind of flashy response.
Well, that's fascinating to me, to be able to think that there is even a golden rule that applies to different parts or different sides of the veil. I mean, in reality, that's what you're talking about. That kind of issue of treating entities with respect, whether they have a body or not. It sounds like.
Exactly.
Yeah, as above, so below, right? Is one of the way, as in heaven, so it shall be on earth. I mean, every spiritual system, every religion has some version of the golden rule: do unto others. So, because really what we found, and we cut our teeth on that 2-year investigation, we really did, was that the personality stays intact, right? We talked in the first hour about the dementia patient. She took that with her. We've encountered ghosts who suffered major head traumas. They don't remember their names. They don't know where they are. In some cases, they don't even know they're dead. And so one of our cases, and I'll be very succinct, that was not a win, was about 1.5 years ago. We get a call from a woman. They're in crisis. They're heavy into oppression, but I have to say some of it is being manufactured from the family. They're addicted to these reality shows, and the woman got Tanya's number through a place where she had already talked to another woman. Now she has a 5-minute phone conversation. She says some weird things are happening in our house. Things are falling off of shelves. I feel like I'm being watched. And the woman over the phone, no site visit, no interview, no intake form, within 5 minutes is talking about exorcism rituals. And you need to get out of your lease and leave the house. Whoa, 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 whoa. If someone comes to you as a lawyer, they don't expect you to advise them within 5 minutes on the telephone, nor would a doctor, right? In this day and age with WebMD, you stop at dinner, you say, Uncle so-and-so at Thanksgiving dinner, I have this weird red rash on my leg, like, can you write me a prescription? No, I can't. We have ethical boundaries. So we go into a crisis situation, and we learned a lot about catch it at manifestation. Because once you're going into crisis, it's a whole nother playing field. So this woman was worked up. She was convinced that her family was being attacked. Now, things were falling off of shelves. Mm-hmm. A pair of very expensive shoes had gone missing. Their neighbor's child had tried to kill herself. The woman's daughter one day she came in, burst into tears and said, "I'm worthless. I don't want to live anymore. I can't go on." So there were serious things going on, but the family was contributing to things escalating at a very, very high level. What we came to find out, and we won't, people could read the book, so to speak, for the details, but what we came to find out was there was a young man in that county, and he was a drug addict, and he came from a very difficult, very violent life on the street. He had a girlfriend. She was also an addict, and at one point, she had stabbed him in the face and went to prison. This young man committed suicide, and it was a head wound, and he had this trauma. Well, what we found out, and it was through hard data research, what the family was telling us, Tanya's psychic mediumship, communication with various devices, and an EVP we got where we simply heard a young man say, "Help." That's a pretty good indication that maybe this isn't a malevolent spirit that's trying to take over your family, possess you, and there's something going on. So it turned out that the house used to belong to his parents. So now we have a theme here with the Victorian house, a prior owner. Well, when things got really, really bad for this young man and the pressure got too great, he would stay in his parents' basement. That's where most of the haunting activity was, in the basement, where they heard voices, where things were moved, where a door was inexplicably locked, even though the lock was on the side of the person trying to get out. So he shows up after his suicide, and we're finding that there is a period of time between when someone commits suicide and when they kind of show up on Earth, if they come back. So I don't know if it's a form of purgatory. There's some kind of... So he shows back up at a familiar place, Mom and Dad's house. I am in crisis. I am lost. The very weird thing in this case was that his father was a musician. The boyfriend of the woman and both her daughters were musicians. So there were instruments and equipment all over the basement, yet it was not his parents' basement. His parents weren't there, and these foreign people were there. And he didn't have the skills to communicate with them. And they weren't open to communication, so we went to the house several times, and we urged the woman, please try to communicate. Please try to be calm. And even as the data unfolded, right, hon, everything would be fine, and we would be on our way home, and we'd get a text. He's throwing rocks at me. He wants to possess me. He wants to do this, this, and this. So that was for what we call a loss for us, because we could not go any further. So last we heard, he had a series of clergy going in trying to exorcise the place. But this poor, confused young man, because he wasn't ready to be crossed over, right, Ton? We tried a couple times.
Right. I think it was because he was confused. I think a little bit he wanted his story to be told, and I think he didn't. It was really complicated by the woman's trauma. And
her own history
of trauma, and her projecting that onto what was actually happening. And at one point, I had said, we can't really work with you until, I really suggest that you need to, and I referred her to a counselor that, I had on hand to refer people to, because sometimes you have to do that. Sometimes you're dealing with something that's outside of your, scope of practice, so to speak, and you need to get the person the help that they need. And that's what was really going on with her. is all this emotional trauma was resurfacing and getting projected onto the experience, because what I was seeing and what I had initially seen from the moment we started talking on the phone was a young man. I was seeing a bullet wound to the head. I knew it was a suicide. I knew all of that before we even went there, and that's what I was seeing in the home as well. I was seeing the young man, and he was showing me certain things, but it certainly wasn't this. She was convinced that it was some sort of demonic presence that was appearing or mimicking this young man, which certainly that can happen, but that was not what I was getting at all, and it didn't bear out in the data that we were collecting either. So
No.
It was unfortunate that we couldn't help her resolve her own projections, because she was really getting her teenage girls worked up into a state of hysteria as well.
Yeah, there's those times when you realize that that your own client is their own worst enemy in some regards, and at that point you realize that, for instance, being a lawyer, trying to help their legal issue. It may be the smallest part of the equation when you're dealing with someone who is continually going to be manifesting those kinds of issues or similar issues, even if the legal issues that you're trying to help them with are resolved. That's a very tough situation to find yourself in as a legal counselor or as a spiritual counselor at all, I can imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we don't know. We had to extricate ourselves from it. And so as these exorcists were going in from the Catholic Church and other places, this young man was probably being barraged with all manner of, negative things. And it probably got worse. If it did get better, I don't think that there was any kind of mutually agreeable outcome. He was probably forced out, which is tragic. It's tragic. Any more than any time we lose someone in the system who's troubled, or, he went through it twice. The system sort of failed him. Society sort of failed him to a certain... we have some very close friends right now who've been looking to adopt for a long time. And they just sent us a picture of them with a 3-week-old baby, Michael, that was placed with them under emergency situations because it's addicted to cocaine, heroin, and meth.
Wow.
And the mother was high when she delivered the baby, so DDS stepped in and took the baby away. Well, we have to have some compassion and pity for this woman, because she's a human being, and something went dreadfully, dreadfully wrong for her to do that to another human being, right? So these things get complicated. Why can't that apply to the other side? We lose nothing, and we potentially gain everything, because another one of those paranormal Bill of Rights is not everything that is unkind, mischievous, or non-communicative is a demon. Every other one of these reality shows is Demon House, Hell House, Portal to Hell. Hey man, it's sexy, but when you have a real life situation like we're dealing with, not helpful, right? On some of these shows, there's a little girl, right? That it's clearly a little girl who's communicating, and they're like, that's not a little girl at all, that's a demon. Okay, all right, and let's cut to commercial. So she was convinced that this young man was a demon pretending to be this young man who had committed suicide, and that he wanted to possess her and ruin her life and kill her children. That quickly gets unmanageable. And you have to swallow your pride as an investigator and say, I am no longer capable of solving this. And those are tough. Those are tough days, but it was the right decision for us to do what we did.
Yeah. And obviously extricating yourself in a less damaging manner is the possibility that you're trying to get to. Obviously, you can't just walk out the door with a situation like that, although at some points you might have to do that. But I would imagine you do as much as you possibly can in extricating yourself out of a situation as you do coming into it to begin with, that you make sure that you're not making the situation worse.
Exactly. And that's where, I really talked with her on multiple occasions about, there really is, seems to be a history of a lot of trauma here. I think it would be really beneficial. I think it would be wonderful if but all you can do is give them the referral and hope that they'll take it. And then every time subsequently that she would reach out, again, just try to give her advice for calming herself down and how to, managing stress and, things like that. Because you're right, you don't just want to, especially when somebody's in crisis like that, you don't want to just not take their phone calls anymore. So.
Yeah, it is difficult, and obviously it takes a personal toll on yourself, I would imagine, as an intuitive.
Well, I think for me the hardest part was watching her spiral into almost hysteria, and that is where my concern was, is that emotionally I wanted her to get that, and I'm not a mental health professional, and so I will always refer out to the proper professionals. If I can come in, excuse me, if I can come in and help you determine, the source of your haunting and communicate with the spirits and help you tap into your own intuition, that's wonderful. But if there's some real deep emotional stuff there, obviously that's just not something I'm going to be able to help with.
Yeah. And I would imagine, I don't know if you do this at all, but is this kind of a situation where you typically have any kind of disclaimers or documentation that you have people at least read, if not sign, to confirm that you can only do so much, in that regard?
We don't do it in written, but in the intake interview, we lay everything out. And we don't, so we're always very upfront, and we're teachers by nature. So we will be very vocal about what we're doing. They had called at one point, they had called a TV crew, and the TV crew was more interested in stirring them up and getting the phenomena recorded than in solving the problem. So we let them know, hey, look, we're here to help you. But, as a lawyer, again, I think sometimes you're in the role of mediator. So we also let them know that we're not just there for them, but if we ask to make contact with what's on the other side and we create that relationship, like I really felt like we let that young man down. As much as we weren't able to help this woman and her family, that's what I was most upset about as we extricated ourselves from that case and passed it on, was that we couldn't help that young man. So we are, yes, we're very upfront. We always tell people what we're doing. We always explain what the equipment is, how we're going to use the data. Tanya and I choose to not name names when we use things in our books of the clients. We change, we may change the name of the town or not mention the town. A lot of paranormal investigators will use names. I mean, Tanya and I are in all kinds of books telling our stories under our names. But for us, these are personal things. These are families that are going through divorces. This young man had committed suicide. We're not trying to win the Pulitzer Prize for journalism, we're trying to solve problems here. So that's kind of our approach. And we let people know that too. We're not going to out them to the world, because that doesn't create trust either, if they're wondering what your motivation is, right?
Oh, yeah. You definitely, the issue of conflict of interest is a major one that you have to surmount from the very beginning to get their trust, for sure. Yeah. Wow, this is fascinating details that you never would have thought about, and I really appreciate your candid abilities to bring us into these cases so individually here. We're going to take a break, again, our last break before the top of the hour, and we will be right back with more of Spaced Out Sunday in just a moment.
Need that weekend's supernatural fix? Look no further than Spaced Out Saturday right here at spacedoutradio.com. I'm Stacey Edwards.
And I'm John Edwards. Each Saturday night, Stacey and I are going to bring you the best in paranormal, cryptids, UFOs, you name it, and we're going there.
It's all about the experience and to share the knowledge with all of you.
So tune us in every Saturday night on Spaced Out Saturdays, starting at 9:06 p.m. Pacific, 12:06 a.m. Eastern, only at spacedoutradio.com.
I'm feeling a little spicy tonight. What to do? What to do?
Why not get Bumblefuck?
4 million Scoville units of pure hard rock. Bumblefoot hot sauces come in 3 flavors. The burning Bumble. Tone it down a bit with Bumblicious and throw the sauce on everything.
Spice it up. Bumble me, baby. Bumblefoot hot sauce. Get it today at kajans.com.
Are you looking for great advertising value for your company? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. We have a multitude of places to get your name out there, including commercial ads during the show, special promotions, and banners on our website. Our audience is proven to support the companies that support our show. We can make your budget work for you. So for more information, please contact us at sales@spacedoutradio.com.
Hey everybody, the SOR Space Travelers is open. For just $5 a month, you can hang out with Dave and our crew privately in our members-only section. With your signing, you'll receive newsletters on what's going on with Spaced Out Radio. You'll have direct contact with the host during the show in our chat, live streaming videos, and a great forum for your posts and more. Become a space traveler now at spacedoutradio.com.
You wanted new SOR gear, and now you can have it. The SOR Vault is fully stocked with t-shirts, hats, hoodies, mugs, and everything in between with great logos for you to choose from. So head on over to spacedoutradio.com, click on the SOR Vault, and go shopping. Pricing is quite affordable, and you can look good representing your favorite show. So go to our website and pick up your new SOR wear at the SOR Vault today.
Are you addicted to the woo? Good. Me too. This is Dave Scott, and you can woo it up with me every Monday through Friday, starting at 9:06 Pacific, 12:06 a.m. Eastern, for 3 hours of great entertainment in the subjects you love. UFOs, ghosts, cryptids, intuition. Yes, we hit it all 5 days a week. Look for us at spacedoutradio.com. We're together, my friends. We own the night.
At spacedoutradio.com, we are keeping you up to date on all the news with the SOR Newswire. Captain Shirk leads the team that is bringing you the news of the day and exclusive stories on everything paranormal and supernatural. It's free to read, it's updated daily, and it's right there for you. The SOR Newswire is a one-stop shop for the news of the day. Check it out at spacedoutradio.com today.
Hello everyone, this is Ryan Stacy from the Experiencer Support Association, otherwise known as TESSA. We're glad to team up with Spaced Out Radio to help investigate your experiences on the SOR Sightlines Report. Together, we'll investigate the strange sightings and occurrences you've had. We're looking for answers just like you. So fill out a Sightlines report on the Spaced Out Radio website and let's figure out what's going on together.
Hey Spaced Out Radio fans, it's John Resig, founder of the Chive and Chive Charities. Our goal is to make the life of veterans, first responders, and those with rare medical conditions 10% happier. We do this by donating one grant item, ranging from vans to therapy programs to prosthetic limbs, to those who need it most. To contribute to Spaced Out Radio's official charity, head over to chivecharities.org and become a donor today.
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot Thaw, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world. You can head over to my website, bumblefoot.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know Little Brother is watching.
From the heartlands of Canada to beards around the world, we know how to take care of you. Fill your follicles with the Mighty Moose Beard Oil. All our oils and balms are handmade and 100% natural ingredients because we care about your beard. And hey, use the promo code SOR2019 and get your Mighty Moose Beard Oil today. You can check us out on our website, mightymoosebeard.com.
We're adding to the entertainment online for Spaced Out Radio. I'm Amber Beckrud, and I want to invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel and check out Cryptid Tales, where I will take you on a journey into some of the strangest legends and lore from around the world, relaying the stories to you of the strange creatures and experiences that people have had throughout time. You can find Cryptid Tales at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. And while you're there, don't forget to check out our free archives and leave a comment. See you there.
And we are back with Spaced Out Sunday and the final segment of the show. And Joey and Tanya, boy, this has been fascinating fare for me, literally to get into the inside head of intuitives like yourself in doing what you do to help the situation on both sides of the veil. I think this is something that more people ought to think about.
Well, thank you. We certainly hope so.
Yes.
You know, something that I've never had the occasion to think about just hit me during the break. You guys are the perfect people to ask this question. How does, for instance, karma versus reincarnation, you know, this whole idea of things beyond our control or whatever, how does that fit into a situation that could be some kind of a potential haunting as well?
Wow, that's a great question. You know, I don't know that I've ever really thought of it from that perspective either, so I may have to think about that for a second. But I mean, to me, our souls are on this journey of evolution. And so when we reincarnate, we've come back to work out certain, you know, lessons or develop in certain ways. Certainly we come back, I do believe in karma. You know, we're creating karma in every moment. So some karma, you know, we would consider good, some we would consider bad. But basically anything where my understanding of karma is anything where you're sort of hooked in or creating some kind of attachment is going to create karma. So, for example, I think a good spirit to look at in terms of that would be the one I mentioned earlier at the Webb Library, a gentleman by the name of Vincent. And as I had mentioned, he wasn't a nice person in life. We came to find out that he was a manager in what was garment training facility. So interestingly, the building itself had doctors on the first floor and this garment training facility on the second floor, which two things that don't really go well together. And it didn't last very long, but while he was there, he was not very kind at all, and he was particularly menacing with the women. And he took certain liberties with the female workers, and continued to do so in the afterlife. So when women would come on the investigations with us, they would feel hands on their legs, they would have their dresses tugged, bruises on their legs, things like that. And what he had shown me at one point is that he had died by hanging. It was unclear whether it was sort of a self-inflicted thing or possibly he had been lynched by people who were not happy with the way he was handling the employees. It wasn't clear. But what was clear is that his suffering continued greatly in the afterlife. And to me, that speaks to karma. and what people would experience when he was in the area is a closing and a tightening around the throat. And it wasn't that, initially we thought it was sort of him wanting to inflict pain on the people who were experiencing this. But what I came to find out is that was just his experience. So when you were in his energetic presence, so to speak, if you were empathic, you would feel or sense what he was feeling and sensing. And so karmically, that's where I actually got the idea that, this is just a soul who needs healing. And that's what I do. I'm a Reiki practitioner and a massage therapist, and healing is what I do. So I started working with him energetically and really on a soul level to try to get him to understand that he was fundamentally a divine being like everyone else, and that he was deserving of forgiveness, and that he was deserving of forgiving himself, and he was deserving of love. And when I did that, I did feel a lot of his karma clear up, and that's when I feel like he was able to cross over. And I think he was hanging around because he was so afraid that he was such a unkind person, and that he did have all this karma, that where he was going in the afterlife was probably not someplace that he wanted to go. So once we were able to get that healing to transpire, and you can release karma through forgiveness. There's a Hawaiian practice called Ho'oponopono, and it's a powerful practice of forgiveness. And of course, when we forgive others, we're ultimately forgiving ourselves, and that's a huge release of karma.
That is fascinating to me, that the fact that you could effectuate in a positive way a soul's karma and their soul trip through that whole idea of reincarnation, potentially not maybe short-circuiting it or skipping over certain things that need to be experienced, but maybe helping them realize maybe that transition there is not going to be as scary as they thought potentially. I think that's a fascinating story to be able to bring to someone in conflict like that, for sure.
Yeah, it was, it really, what it taught us too is Joey talks about how people retain their personalities on the other side of the veil, which is very true, but also that they can evolve and grow on the other side. That's what really it taught us. That, again, to me, that does speak to karma and the soul's journey, that we don't stop learning and growing just because we've dropped our bodies. We continue to evolve.
Right, and I think the most fascinating thing about that whole experience was, here's a man who had happy hands. He used the time of the Depression to kind of coerce these women. It was like something out of Les Miserables or something like that. And towards the end, as he started to be rehabilitated, or as Tanya put it, working through his karma, there were women, ghosts, and spirits who began advocating for him. So he had a certain area of the library where he was, and we would not let women go down alone there to be subjected to that, like Tanya had been on occasion, and other people we had interviewed about their experience in the library. And I went, so each night we'd start in what we called the south hallway, and we'd make our way across the building to the north hallway where he was. And I would always say, holding the spirit box, Vincent, is it okay if we come down to see you tonight? And on nights where he said, no, why don't you go? We honored that, right? Because I think we were already formulating this Bill of Rights 5 or 6 years ago intuitively, because we were responsible for all these guest investigators. Mm-hmm. And one night someone was scratched, Michael, right through their shirt. 3-inch, not gashes, but scratches that drew blood on their back.
Whoa.
So, and another woman got burned on her leg.
And another woman had bruises.
Right. So you have these responsibilities to these people that you have to take seriously. So, but I remember one night, which was really a revelatory night, I said, Vincent, can we come down? And a woman said, Vincent is tired. And it was a woman advocating for a man who had been a sexual predator. So if on the other side they were acknowledging his change, wow, that's powerful. That's powerful.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. That seems to be more of a reward than anything else, if indeed not only are you helping people on this side of the veil, but you are able to effectuate change, positive change on the other side as well. And then it sounds like you've got quite a lot of evidence in that regard that you can point to that is in your book, it sounds like.
Yeah, in both of them now.
Books.
The web was that kind of foundational of a case history, and now in these, it's been really hard with the pandemic to not be out in the field. And now, luckily, our house is quite a laboratory, and there's all kinds of research that you can do, and we've done that from documentaries. We're always in conference with colleagues. We are able to consult with people through video and all of that. But being out, subjecting yourself, testing yourself, getting better is absolutely, because I still think after 11 years, we're still newbies. I mean, this is a tough field. I don't like the word expert. I don't trust people who call themselves experts.
I always say if somebody's claiming to be an expert, run away.
Yeah, right. But thank you. Yeah, so we're excited about this new book. We really think that the web is interesting in a passive sort of way, as a collection of ghost stories and some theories about what might be going on the other side. But Roommates from Beyond is meant to be thumbed through, used, applied, and will hope save people a lot of misery is what we're hoping.
I think that's fantastic. And the idea of the subtitle, I believe, is very important. How to live in a haunted home, not just a house. Something that you guys are carving out as, a place where multiple entities potentially have to deal with one another.
Exactly. Cohabitation is never easy, right? So especially when you're dealing with entities who... maybe they're from different time periods, for example, and they don't like this modern technology, or that they just don't get a lot of the nuances of modern living. So yeah, and I think we have a fascination, all of us, with places, with a certain spot. We seem to be comfortable in certain spots, a lot of us. I would imagine that does not end upon our, mortal coil living, in the fact that in spiritual form we get very comfortable with certain places and situations that are difficult to leave and give up. And of course, we have to do that, periodically as we move on in this whole experience. It's fascinating to me to realize that there are things around us that are much more in tune to our situations than maybe we are ourselves, and we need to be more aware of that. So this has been a fascinating interview for me to get into the details of what you guys actually do and have been doing for sounds like a couple decades at this point, or at least getting there.
Yeah, well, I guess what we always say is, I kind of got tired of the paranormal investigating us, so I wanted to investigate it back. So the first 10 years, we were very passive as things were happening. And we lived in a genuine haunted house where we talk about it in the book, some really scary stuff happened. So we really needed to help protect our children more. It was clear that Jolie is a powerful psychic medium. She just turned 21 last month.
Oh, my.
Like Tanya said, from the time she was 3 years old. So 20 years total, but 10 years as actual investigators, and spent 6 of those years in mentorship with Rosemary Ellen Guiley, learning. Keeping our mouths shut and being good students. Yeah.
Oh my! And we haven't really given the tribute to Rosemary Ellen Guiley as well. your mentor in this whole situation. But it would be nice if you could tell us a little bit about her and her an amazing life that she spent teaching you guys on what you do best now. If you got a few words for her about her.
Oh gosh, we could talk for hours about Rosemary. She was so wonderful. But yeah, Rosemary Ellen Guiley was just a superstar in the field of paranormal investigation and research. She dedicated her life to it. She was utmost professional. She wrote over 60 books. Like a walking encyclopedia. I was always fascinated. Anything Rosemary researched or studied, she just retained the knowledge. Just incredibly intelligent and knowledgeable, wise and kind. I think when people talk about her, anyone we've ever met who has talked about her, people are always fascinated by, she really was a celebrity, and yet as down to earth as anyone you would ever meet, and people would walk up to her at events or after a lecture that she had presented and ask her a question, and she would take, as long as anyone needed to answer their questions, and very kindly and very patiently be there to talk to people. We often called her to consult, and so many people talk about that. They would email her and think, oh, she's very busy, I probably won't hear back for a while. And no, she would get right back to you always. Just a consummate professional, amazing, amazing person. And as a medium, I get to continue my relationship with her now that she has passed, and I do talk with her still frequently.
Oh, I never thought of that. What a great opportunity for you as an intuitive, and I would imagine if she's benevolent enough to be a spirit guide for you, that this is something that you would look forward to.
Oh, absolutely. She has helped me out on multiple occasions. She advised me when she was living, and she continues to do so. And Joey as well. We check in with her frequently.
And she's continuing to do the work. So not long after she died last year, Tanya was doing some automatic writing, which is one of her modes of communication with higher spirit. And Rosemary came through and said hello. And she said, I'm working here with John Keel on Bigfoot.
Oh, my. Oh, my.
Which was, it was a nice relativatory moment to go, wow, the work continues. And she hasn't shared any details because, she's earned that view, right?
Well, she
and
did.
So has Mr. Keel.
She did.
Well, she did,
She said, I'm working with John Keel, and Bigfoot is real, and he exists in multiple dimensions. That was the message that came through.
That's right. That's very true.
Fantastic.
And then,
that's what I was interested in finding out if you had any information on, because that's my thought as well, that Bigfoot is much more than just a hominid, even potentially even much more than just an extraterrestrial. So interdimensional sounds quite fascinating to me.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a word we learned from Rosemary.
Mm-hmm.
Interdimensional being, which was cool. On September 28th, on Friday afternoon, 2 p.m., we'll be doing Into the Outer Realms. That's our live stream show. And we're having Brian Seach on, who is a cryptozoologist in Pennsylvania, and the subject is going to be the interdimensional nature of Bigfoot.
Oh, fantastic. We'll definitely be listening for that. That would be fascinating. He's obviously, the Bigfoot issue is something that's quite important for us here at the Pacific Northwest, in the Seattle area, being from Washington State. But of course, Bigfoot sightings and lore has been from around the world. East Coast, West Coast, North and South, and all countries in between. So, that's fascinating stuff. And can you imagine, I am so proud that you are able to relay from Rosemary her continued interest in helping both sides of the veil. That's fascinating for us. So thank you for that.
Michael, I know we're getting real short on time, but here's something very provocative. When the pandemic hit, she put aside her personal work and was doing light healing work. And there were long periods of time when she didn't communicate, and we would ask her for some guidance on something, and she'd say, look, I'm very busy. I'm very busy, and there are things that I need to do. And we got the distinct impression that it wasn't her own choosing, but she had been enlisted in a time of crisis. So I often say to our friends, family, and colleagues, we have this whole nother layer that we encourage people to embrace, and that's another reason why we did the book. Life is very complicated. If we can get perspectives from the other side of the veil, examples for living, information, guidance, help, healing, well, I feel blessed. To have that information. I'm an information guy, so give me the data, and if that's where it's coming from, I'll take it.
Oh my. What a way to wind up this wonderful 2.5-hour interview with both Joey and Tonya Madia. The whole idea of the paranormal and coming up with a Bill of Rights that is applicable on both sides of the veil. The whole idea of your brand new book coming out, Roommates from Beyond, and your new show coming up in September here, your interview that's going to be very fascinating regarding interdimensional Bigfoot potentially, and your ongoing cooperation and light work with Rosemary Ellen Guiley. You guys are just fantastic. Thank you so much for being my guests.
Thank you, Michael. It's always an honor.
With you.
Oh, you're welcome. And by the way, let's make sure that everyone has whatever information they need to have to find your information and be able to find out more about you guys. Why don't you go ahead and give us your website or wherever you have?
Sure. So I have a professional Facebook page, and it's just my first and last name, Tonya Madia, and then there's some letters, RYT, RMT, LMT. That's my professional page, but people can also just find me on my personal page. I'm happy to have people connect with me that way as well, and that's obviously just Tonya Madia.
Right, and they can connect with me on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook simply by looking up Joey Madia, Joey Madia. We love to hear from people. Yes. That's how we get better. Anyone we can help, we truly will love that. And so 2 of our books are currently available on Amazon. Tanya's book, Living the Intuitive Life, as well as Watch Out for the Hallway. And right in the middle of October, you'll be able to get Roommates from Beyond.
Oh, just a perfect release in October. I love that. Just
yeah,
in time for
the be topical. Things will get busy around All Saints Day for sure. So.
Oh, definitely. All right. Well, Joey and Tanya, thank you so much. It's just been a pleasure for me to be able to have you back on Spaced Out Sunday, and we will be keeping up to speed on what you're going to be doing here shortly as well. So thank you, everyone. We will be right back after this short break.
Was a man who had some land in eastern Washington, and on his land this man he had a deep dark hole upon. People came from miles around to throw their trash down in to see how deep the hole was and listen for its end. Then one day, that fateful day, they forced Mel off his land. They paid him off and sent him off down under with a plan. They hid Mel's hole and covered it up so ne'er it could be found, so no one would ever know what's deep down in Mel's ground. Yippee-yi-yay. There's no bottom to Mel's hole. So if you chance to find yourself in eastern Washington,
well, I want to remind you that Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal is the official music of Spaced Out Radio.
right alone
rocking us in and out of every single show, and you can find more information at bumblefoot.com. A special thanks to everyone listening in at home, and in your cars, and at work, and in those chat rooms, wherever you are. Remember, this show is currently copyrighted by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thanks for sharing your evening with us. Because together, my friends, we own the night. Thank you again. We will see you next Sunday.